Okay, so I got a question from a listener. He's curious about these videos, and he is looking for a slightly more structured way of learning some of the principles and techniques I'm using. And what I'm doing here is trying to find trade plans based on the behavior of prices. And there's nothing really that special about it. And nature behaves a lot like the way markets behave for whatever reason that the markets create these patterns. But I would really say that the reason why I'm using a line chart on all my videos is because that is, to me, the foundation. It's the first principle. So that, to me, trading's is principle based for me. It doesn't have anything to do with. It's pretty simple. There you go, simpleton. So the whole thing is I'm trying to be kind of the fly in the ointment to the people that have the conventional wisdom, the, oh, what's your trading system? You know, it's kind of like, what's your religion, right? Well, of course, everybody's an individual, so doesn't everybody have their own, like people go to church, it always cracks me up. Do they all believe the same thing? Absolutely not. I mean, they show up there for community. And I know people go to this, people want to go to a trading room and hang out with people, but, I get a little anxious in those rooms because I just want to scream at everybody, what are you, like, whatever you're taking, can I get some? Because I think that's just some ridiculous foundations to their trading. They're not taking the beginner's mind and starting off. I went to a trading class when I was out, like 1992. It wasn't a class. It wasn't bad. Now this was an education that was. I'd already read all the books, and so I went to this thing, and it was. You got to meet these people that wrote these books, and it was kind of fun. And then, the stuff that you learn there, can you take that to the world of practical, and how do you actually do that? Because I remember being there and thinking, wow, this is, a lot of info. But nobody ever said, well, let me show you this trade I did. It was all abstract stuff. And then it came to the point of, and I actually thought when I first saw trading, I thought, well, there's only one trade. You're either going to do, there's only one holy grail. In other words, if there was maybe there's 20 holy grails. So if there is a holy grail, maybe there's more than one. But the holy grail is always going to be your ability to not consider, like, volatility is scary. If you say you put on a trade, so I had this demo account and I was in writing a scalping script and really tight stops. I was in a $2 million position just before the news came out. So I took this account from I could have cashed out at 5,800, but I couldn't have got out of that position because the broker's not going to let me unload all those orders right away. And they were all micros, so it's just an experiment. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm not saying that you should, that's all test stuff. But at the core of your trading to make money, everybody can make money trading. The only thing that's preventing this whole thing about 95% of traders lose, don't forget, 95% of people that live, has anybody seen the people in the real world? I think George Carlin will go through the list of hilarious, anecdotes about, and just jokes about, people. And I love it when people are buying designer jeans when, the hot babe in the ad is you. Am I alone? When I see the pattern, and there's definitely been some gorgeous women wearing gorgeous clothes, but I think jeans are funny because it's like a brand on these people. They've been branded. But that's a guy wrote a whole book about that, the branding of America, right? So the branding, the latest harmonic this and the latest, but you have to have, in anybody that's ever entered the market with real money and watched their equity. Now, this is the other thing that's kind of tough psychologically, but I guess I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but it has to do with the fact that, you know, if you come to the, this one guy's into motorcycles, and he comes to the motorcycle world probably with the, one of my guitarists is a motorcycle driver, and I said to him, "Now I don't drive motorcycles. You know, I'm like kind of like an insurance agent. I'm like, that sounds dangerous." And so, but he likes the enthusiasm. He feels like he's getting somewhere. He's free. He likes the feeling of freedom. So that feeling of freedom is why people come to trading. They will all want to be free. But of course, if you're in a trade and you're holding it for 20 hours, 20 minutes, you're not free. You're thinking, should I get out? I'm up. Yeah, are they going to hit my target in the next 20 hours? I'm going to blow my brains out. These guys got to get there. So what is your, and this is kind of a psychological skill, what is your ability to not micromanage something or let that go? Now, if it's not a big position, you can build your, you're always building, like, you know how to work out, right? Everybody knows you go to the gym, build muscle. We have to build a mental muscle skill of dealing with what is at first an uncomfortable feeling, but you just get callous to it. But the reward, it's like if you play guitar, you're going to get calluses, and your first time you play guitar, anything, you're going to get sore. But then your body's like, oh, it's going to go like that, huh? And there you go. You're on to this thing. So the way that I'm trying to make money in these markets is that I have to be aware of the fact that there's a structure there. And it may be psychological, or it may just be the way that nature vibrates. But typically, the thing is that for the most part, there's a lot of chaos out there. There's a lot of noise, and I guess people are looking for security in the sense that they have a safe space, they call it now, because see but that's a whole nother rabbit hole of, I don't want to go down in this video. But the next video, I'm going to go down this whole rabbit hole of how we got so thinking that we could build an EA, or we could kind of have somebody else fix that for us. Because even if you have an EA running, we were joking around today about these EAs, and I was looking at the stat. Now, that thing made $30,000 on one trade. The next trade it lost $5,000 straight flat. Some martingale thing. And I saw that drawdown, and I thought, wow, I don't like that. I don't care how much money it made. I mean, it made like $8 million off of 30 bucks, but I was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to go there. So that's tugging at your brain. But if you come back to first principle, you come back to the core of, is what you're doing make sense? Is it rational? Is it, without the mysticism of, you don't even go, I'm going to go through, just blow through these charts here. And as these things come up, I'm just going to try to just do free association. You know, you say dog, I say cat, or you say dog and I say batwing. But so that's going to be, because we've all been conditioned and trained. In all the money we spent, too, there's kind of this Stockholm Syndrome. I guess if you've spent all that money on those books, and, I remember that when I got on the elevator with this guy, I'll never forget. So we get on the elevator, and this nerdy guy comes on, you know, the real super geek. He out-geeked me, which felt like Mr. Manly on the elevator. And so the guy had books. I'm telling you what, he had bought every book from these little mini booths. People were selling their wares and their books, and he had the thing, and he had like 10 books. And I said, "Wow!" And I don't know. Somebody else in the elevator said something like, "Wow, you're really serious." And he said, in the most kind of like Spock kind of Star Trek way. He says it's just a matter of indexing it and going through it. And so maybe his passion, maybe he was just an accountant. So everybody comes to trading. Some people want to make money. I know I'm jumping around here, but come back to the money and trying to get back to the it's not work. If it's work for you to come up with whether they be a routine to pull the trigger manually, or I'm trading on these scripts because, let's face it, the Industrial Revolution's here, so computers are here, so I'm doing script execution because those are all micro trade plans. I mean, I'm not just like anybody can take an account and get into some trade and make it go up, but do you have a core kernel principle that you're always able to look at any chart? Like, you can look at most cars in the world and they have four wheels. So I'm trying to go with the idea of a car as opposed to, is that a Lamborghini trade or is that a Ferrari trade? It doesn't matter. It's a car. In the last, progressive education has crept into, I mean, we see people, they can't, not that I'm the best educator, but I'm going to try it. Only because I'm going to say that you don't need a signal service, because the signals constantly have a carrier signal in your head. Hopefully this is holding the signal, keeping you alive. That this principle, you use it in most things, but the only problem in trading is a lot of the principles, and I would say the morals, not the principles, but the, like, truth's subjective. Like when you drive a car into a building, if everybody drives doesn't matter what your ethics and morals are, when you drive a car into a building, just the metaphysics, you're going to hurt yourself. And this is also presupposing that the building's not moving with you. Let's not forget that in the market, you could be driving a car into a building and that building's actually moving. Now, this is completely disorientating to somebody that gets into the market with a stop thinking, well, it's an uptrend and all the stars are in alignment, not realizing that people, in other words, it's not that the market's not out to get your stops. It's that there is such an open interest. There's such they used to call it open interest, or just volume. There's a lot of volume coming into something. So therefore, it needs a bigger space to live in. Can you see how that would work in a warehouse? If you had a big volume of, say you got a deal on some, LCD TVs or whatever they're, and there's a blowout thing and you bring them into your warehouse, guess what? Now your warehouse has to be bigger. This is why you see a big range on a 1 hour bar. What you're seeing visually is just an indication that, of course, volume's going to create. You need more space to store all that, or to even move that material. You need a bigger pipe. So the edge of the pipe, if you're a carpenter, you're going from skinny pipes to wide pipes. It's a dynamic range. But let's not get sidetracked. This guy wants to know. And of course, I guess we all want to make money from these principles. The other thing I'd say is that, so you have to have this, and I know this Empowered Trading are selling the passion for trading. You have to have a passion for trading, but you cannot have in other words, you have to like, it's like anything else. You just have to, it's not a passion for trading. It's just, you got to like what you're doing, or you're not going to force yourself to. And I used to read these trading books and they'd say, you have to commit to something. And I thought, I'm never going to commit. I'm never going to commit because I want to have my options open. And I guess these were options. I had a guy wanted me to make him some teeth. And I said, okay. And I made them. And he said, can you make me another set of teeth? And I said, no. And he said, why not? And I said, because if I have to remake, and it was a big disaster, the first one, I was psychologically attached to the event. He says, I'd pay you triple your fee. And I said, no. Because it's psychologically more damaging and demanding. It's like trying to sit in a room that's silent. I'm not good at that. I always have to have something churning. I don't care if it's just. I actually never thought, in fact, this psycho babe I was with, I didn't think I liked kids till the background noise of this toddler being completely chaotic was as soothing as the market. And the market's like that sometimes. It's all garbage, which has this kind of, if you're not compelled to jump into a trade, now that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, going back to this thing is that if you're attracted to motorcycles because the power, the just that kind of, plus you could go down a dirt road on them. So very, very able to go through this terrain. And then you end up making a living from building motorcycles. If you think about most of these people that are really famous and successful, they'll ask them, well, why did you do it? They typically don't do it for the money. The money's an afterthought. The problem with trading is that money is first thought because you need money. You're actually trading raw money to make money every day. You are not buying a motorcycle to mod it out and then resell it. That is a tangible event. Trading is completely an abstract event. There's a lot of things working against people in trading, and certainly for me, very difficult because I come from a world where I make money with my hands. I could build you something so precise. I could do something with a lot of scrutiny and conscientiousness. So the problem there is, and I'm a perfectionist, so those are completely bad skills to bring into trading because I can't use my hands. I can't punch my broker's face. I can't, and as far as the, and you actually can't even mold the market. You're just assessing it. You can't affect it physically. And so a lot of stuff works against people. The foundational approach to the markets is that you go get a system, right? And but there's like gravity is a principle. But that's first principle. So getting a car and getting buying a car or making money. So getting back to the guy that comes to has an enthusiasm for a certain thing, and money's an afterthought. I don't think Zuckerberg or these people really would have guessed if you would have asked them when they were 10 years old, are you planning to make X amount of dollars? And no, the kid just kind of curiosity. And that's what I'm into. I'm a curious person. So that's why I was curious to see if I went on the internet and started bitching about these. And I get into the next video about where this all came from. The really the manifest point of how we got here and why people feel anxious. And trading's no better. So you're dealing in this world where you've got a warehouse full of money, digital money, intangible. And you're going to make money doing that. And it's very bizarre. It's really just, you're making money from making a decision. Execution is a little bit of, the mouse, right? You got to grab the mouse. That's a factor. No doubt. And that's really, the other thing is that that's where you have to you just love, you don't mind the calluses on your finger. You don't mind that you had to click the mouse 20 times or redraw the trend line 20 times. And I'd say that you can't take the work out of it by hiring an MA, a robot or a moving average system or the light went off. I mean, I've done a lot of videos ripping people apart and ripping apart these facades, all this, gee, what a nice outfit you've got. I just wanted to say, hey, the fact of it is that you need a quick and dirty way to trade. And that's a principle. And a lot of people say, well, you're not flexible and you're not, but you can't have all these, oh, wait, let me check the newspaper. Let me go look at my, I only trade what my harmonic scanner tells me. And so I get thumbs down if I rip into Ikamushi. I mean, let's face it, this stuff is like, wow. And, I think I just had that thought about the Asian, how they dress up in those parades. It reminds me of a Ikamushu cloud. Maybe there's some connection there. But, so what is the, so how do you, and this, I'm just going to rifle through these. I don't know if that didn't make any sense, but it's going to go, tangential thinking's my forte. Everybody's got to have a skill. This is obvious, right? But what's a trade? And get on my trusty trading tool and go through the supposed ways you could make money on this trade. Now, there's two kinds of trading approaches. You're either babysitting this chart right now, and you're going to pull the trigger, or you're going to place a pending order and walk away. Now, without regard to the fact that these double bottoms become this top, and this is obviously the setup most people are looking to trade. And this does happen in the market quite a bit. You can see this pattern on a line chart. You cannot see this in candles. I can't. If you can trade candles, bless your heart. And all the other people that can trade that stuff. Because I'm living right here in now. I'm living in where the market is right now. I can't trade the left side of the chart. That's my favorite quote from Alexander Elder. My broker will not let me trade the left side of the chart. So, and the hindsight thing. And if people are waiting for this rule set, we break out, we pull back. Now we either sell here at the market, we babysit this trade. This is the supposed high probability setup, don't forget. And then we've also seen this violated. So what do you do about that? And the guy that asked me, well, the guy that says, hey, I'm getting stopped out. Well, if the principle is that we're going to assume things. Now, this is nothing you're not supposed to do because it makes an ass out of you and me. All the crap you've learned, you've got to unlearn. They don't apply here in this world. This is the world of probability. You can get a sense for them. You can put other things on here. No, mind you, we're only looking at a data set here that's so small. If this principle, this kernel holds up through this examination, it should hold up through all the other charts I'm going to blow through here. And this is going to be a long video, apparently. But it's not a simple answer to and the question kind of makes you immediately ask yourself, how do you know what you know? This is epistemological trading, or re-examining how do you know what you know? And can you can you show somebody your trade plan in easy steps? And I would say that you'll never make $1 million from one trade. You're going to have to get stopped out. Now, you won't get stopped out if your stop's really wide, and you definitely won't get stopped out if you have no stop. But your account is your stop then. So this all or nothing thinking where people are in for a penny, in for a pound, they're literally only have one strategy running. And if you're on principle, and my principle, the next kernel away from that is the conceptual fork. If you're going to build this guy said that my trading is philosophical. Well, it is from the standpoint if you need a core thing, and then you have the branches off of that, like you would have the metaphysics, which is this. Now you go into, and eventually you get to the higher levels. The next thing you have to have some kind of concept built on this principle of buy low, sell high. No, we don't. Here, obviously, you're going to sell. In this setup, it's a million of these patterns. The reason why you can't build an EA to do this because you have to build like 100 EAs, and they all have a calibration because EAs apparently have one stop, unless the money management thing comes in underneath. But that's going to choke your platform. I mean, EAs are hanging in there and that could freeze your whole platform. And it's just, let's face it, you're smarter than a 10-year-old, right? A computer, I mean, a robot's literally like having a dysfunctional, just you have to babysit it, keep tightening up the parameters. By God, that time you could have put on 20, you could have scalped the market. All that time you spent back, if you're really going to sit in front of your computer, just scalp the market. Just learn how, in fact, my suggestion to anybody on the planet, put up the 1-minute chart with a line chart on top, put a 1-period moving average on top of preferably a line chart. Candlesticks, don't get me started. It's completely ridiculous. There's no principles there. This is a principle of price over time right here. This is I hate to keep repeating the word principle, but it's funny because I'm not trying to be redundant, but I'm trying to stay on topic, so you got to repeat the word, right? Torn between being repetitive and staying on topic. Let me just rifle through. And obviously, you can see here the problems of where do you put your stop? Do you put it here? Well, this is the place to sell. It's a perverse. Another reason why trading is difficult is perverse. It is counterintuitive. It is it's upside down. It's and you have to backward engineer your trades. You have to see the you have to trade a scenario. So maybe you sold up here and you sold up there 3 times, but this is support. The sellers are going to come in here. They always do. What I'm saying is to just be very simple and brief, and then I'll go off on a rant as I go through not a rant, but I mean, I just want, if anybody wants to tune out at this point. But what I'm saying is, this is obviously a range that's established. We know these fundamentally, principally. Now, if you want to start throwing stuff on here, moving averages, you've just stepped away from reality. Now you're living in a Heraclitean flux of floating abstractions. Oh, wait, but, last time I had an 8-period moving average, I made so much money. Are you serious? It's like the motorcycle guy saying, when we had that, yeah, but it's totally... You can't come out with, you just can't, the market's too organic to have a set system. You can't. There's only 26 letters in the alphabet. You really can't have all these symbols, all these patterns that were, this is a pattern in a way, but I'm saying that, this is pretty complicated stuff because you can see all the downfalls of having a one-size-fits-all thing, as opposed to just you're going to go and do the work of drawing the line here of saying, okay, I know that's support. Now, should I buy there with a stop down here? And it's all great and wonderful till this time I buy it. Of course, there's this kind of like, how long can something keep banging? And this is where random walk comes in. And I'm going to go into that, random walk theory. And that was when I was, like 20 years ago, I started trading, and people, random walk versus, oh, it's going somewhere. It can go somewhere randomly. It can walk off a cliff. I mean, if you take an Energizer Bunny and let him go, that'd be an interesting plot. He's eventually going to bang into a wall. This is the whole Brownian this is the whole where you drop standard deviation, where you drop these balls through a pyramid of pegs, and the distribution will be, well, it forms a pyramid, but the pegs are just all linear, and it ends up in like a pile. And the outlying, so this is the center of the pile down the middle. Everybody's aware of that. Now, this could be the weekly, but at some point, now this is the trap trade, obviously. Right? They trap the, oh, we're going up. No, we're going to, but the market's vibrating. Now, the market comes to a rest. There's trades available to people on this principle. So, I guess I don't know if that's making sense because well, the question comes up immediately once you state something. You're like, well, what is the opposing view? Is that this is totally untradeable? Where do I buy? Where do I sell? I don't get it. I'm saying we know this exists. We want to buy there again. Whether we get stopped out or not is completely up to the unknown. You have to be okay with not knowing that. And it's okay because you have a principle you're trading by. And I asked somebody about that one time, and they said, well, you can't buy here because what if it does this? And this is the same person that said, you can't predict the market. We don't predict the market here, but we do. We predict the market, and then we place our trade accordingly. Now, today you could have, I mean, I'm going to test another script that, and of course this is a lot of algorithmic not random, but algorithmic, you pre-establish a script. We don't know the pip range here on this chart, but imagine you just throw out I call them spike strips. Sell limits up here with a stop too. And of course, you would probably want to hand place those. Or you could hit a button and throw them out randomly, but better to hand place. And then have your target. You have to pay attention here now to your target's going to be here. What I'm saying is that people are overcomplicating this stuff. We know this exists. We have a sell order here. We have a buy order here. When the market's doing this, we have to hold that trade. Now, this is difficult. I noticed when I trend traded with this guy, it was okay because he kind of babysat me through it and said, it's going to be all right. Hold on. And there was times when I just so should have got out, but I thought, you know what? It is more work because if you got to get in and out at every swing and going, you know what? I could have got out. Right? Because the market's 80% of the market's doing this sideways stuff. And to me, this is the only trend on this chart. I'm just trying to simplify this down because people are just overcomplicating this. This is a trend for that one moment, but now uptrend? Yeah, on a different time frame. The larger structure. So I'm a structure trader. Now these guys at Empowered Trading talk about structure trading, but they're not structure trading. They're wick trading. There's wicks on here. You can't see them now, but trust me, there's a body and a wick. There's a whole other story going on. And that is what's blowing people's brains out. And why? Well, I'd say for the people that are trying to trade, this kind of conventional. Well, I mean, it's just too much information. You worry about I'm going to tell you right now, if you do a line chart, place all your orders in there, then turn on the candles and see if you got filled. Now, here you obviously would have got filled. But sometimes you don't see that there's a wick like this. Like here's your, if you took all the wicks out of the market, you'd never see the news in a way. You don't see the news unless you go to, and when I say the news, I mean when the news comes out, you can only find that move on the 1 minute chart. But are you going to get out a fib tool on the 1 minute chart? By the time you get that tool, but by the time you think about it, that moves over and it's like this when the news comes out. But you can trade the news if you put your orders on the outskirts of town, where there is going to be, they're going to build a new thing out here, and you own that property. Anybody do Monopoly, right? You own this thing, and somebody wants it now. Finally. Then they want to dump it. So there's your inventory. And this auction theory also. I'll put the auction theory thing in here again. I mean, the guy's just the most... He just described... I mean, he's just getting in on the edge of the market, for God's sakes. That's all he's doing. Maybe I'll forget to put the link in there. Don't... Let's go to the next thing here. So this is also... Change of polarity already sets up in your brain that this is a switch point, but it doesn't mean there's no trade here unless you start to Another thing is take your charts and print them out in a connection with the real world, the tangible world, and just start drawing and just sketch this stuff out. Just take these things. If you're driving the car, do not pull over. Just start drawing this stuff right on the dashboard. And so, put that stuff and just rehearse the scenario in your head while you're driving the car. Again, market goes down, I buy. Now, I know this sounds really simplistic, but that's how I think it's going to have to go, because you're going to have to take a risk. There's no certainty. Okay, so in the next slide. Okay, now here's a very complicated description of what's going on. This is Wyckoff from, this guy died in like 1936 or something. Forget everything else. Like, this explains it, but not with candles. This is complete cause and effect relationships here. So why does the accumulation, so this is Asian session or something, and what is the cause for the effect? And I love cause and effect because I'm a big fan of logic and reason. And there's usually stuff just doesn't happen. And this cause could just be the fact that, well, people have obviously left the market, and we have a fall off in volume here. So the warehouse is very small, and you can see the trade. This is the best place to get in, obviously, right? And this goes, well, this is, to me, it just explains it all. And you could probably find some Elliott waves in there if you forced it. But this is when I saw this, I just said, looks like the market to me, especially if you run a closing price line. But we've gotten so far away from that, man. People they're off onto these things of, and I've done that to just try to, I could show you how to trade the RSI based on this. RSI closing. This is where RSI, right? It's based on close. This is the closing price. RSI is not based on a Wix. I still don't understand for the life of me how this candlestick got into charting, but I think it was because, well, obviously for women, right? Because they love candles. It's just mind blowing. And I had candlestick books. I'm tell you what, it was brutal. Because I thought I was back at, it's called learn by, this is what, you're learning by whole word learning, or see and look method. Whole word, you have to learn all these patterns. Where here you don't have to. See the unfolding of the way the market behaves. In the trade you want to take here, if you'd like to trade a big run, or maybe you want to range trade this thing. During the accumulation distribution phases, maybe you're the person that really likes this type of consistent, and this is his consistent income, is this may be a lot of pips. This is predictable. And this is cute the way he does this Jump the Creek. I'm going to tell you that I got a kick out of that. When I first saw Jump the Creek, I thought, wow, that is just, but notice and this becomes the top, even the bottom before we get up, and now we go into the top bottom as we're going up, and it's like if you're not jumping on that train, it means you don't want to chase it, right? You don't want to chase this thing, so you are going to have to wait till it gets up here, and you're going to have to go into a stop. And this is, now I'm just going to describe the trading plans as you go along here, and I'm going to make prepositions that everybody is aware of the fact there's three ticket types. There's the buy at the market, sell at the market. There's the market order, there's a limit, there's a stop. Now, how to cash in and make tons of money down here. Now, certainly, if you have a buy limit at a retest, and this is, say, the body of the candles, I'm just going to go through this, like, try to do this in a language that we're familiar, everybody's familiar, typically familiar with. Imagine there's wicks here, and this is the bodies of the candle, sort of the trade block, according to Inner Circle Trader. But don't you want to get in here on a limit? Now, this is the fake breakout. The people, we don't know which ways this is going to go, but you have to have buy limits here, and maybe you got sell limits up here. But who's going to supersede? If you have buy limits down here, and maybe you even get in a buy stop on the top of that fractal, now that would, or you have buy stops here and a buy limit here. If you really think this thing could go up, you could also put on the other inverted version of that where it's going to continue. You need to put both in. Put both in, ensure that you will make something. I mean, now do the ratios. Of course, you're going to do the math and make sure that you're very tight stops on this. But you got to put those orders in. And you'd be surprised. It makes money. And it's making money off of volatility breakout. So that's the stop entry. And some people like that. They're like, you know what? I don't have to decide this. Let the market decide. I put a buy stop here. I put a sell stop here. Now, if they invert the trade plan so they have your stops here for this one, your stops here for this one, you're going to lose. If it fills on both, okay, here's the problem. It's the tactics here. Do you put a buy stop here and a sell stop there? Or do you put a buy limit here and a sell limit here? You can do both. Now, when this thing unfolds, this domino, you stacked up your dominoes, and then hopefully the ratios are tight on these, because if it fills both of those, I mean, now if you take one leg off and you say, okay, buy limit, buy stop, and even a buy limit here, you can do that. So when the market's up here, when you see these double tops, you have a buy stop, right? Buy stop, sell stop. If you think it's going to go up, it's going to look like this. Buy stop. And the stop for that needs to be way down here, and it's going to look to make this much money. Now you have to have a buy limit down here, because you know what's going to happen when the news comes out. They're going to smack it down. So maybe you have a master stop. Buy limit. And maybe you're sitting there and babysitting this puppy going, you know what? Now what I typically like to do is make money here, and I want to accumulate just like they are accumulating. You have to be the market. You have to be involved. Not on some ABC and you're waiting to get in here for a move to here. You need to trade this, because you have to get used to, you have to get calluses built up so it doesn't matter that you're in the market. Now, you could wait till the news comes out, and today you could have traded this, but you can see what happened. Everybody watch the news. What you typically happen there is you're getting a whip. They whipsaw you. So you get filled here. You get filled here on stop, or you get filled here entry. You get stopped out, and they trounce out your. They even cut deeper than you thought. This is why you need a bed of orders in here. You need a bin of orders. There's no way in hell that you can have a perfect. You will occasionally get where it never comes back. Buy stop here, protection here for your stop, and never looks back. But what if it does come back? So I would have to try to figure out where the news came out. So you never get a chance to. So accumulate. And maybe this is Asian session. You go up, and maybe you get in here. Now, if you're going to get in here, at this point, you're placing a buy limit here to get in here, because you know this exists. I'm only speaking of stuff that you know, just like you know this exists. Here's sells there. Now you know this big void is trying to fill. What do you do now? Obviously, you're going to buy here on limits for a bounce of some type up into here. Or maybe back up into here. You don't know. Are we in a big uptrend now? Well, if we are, we're going to have to go through an accumulation phase. The market is not going to go like this and like this. It's not. you want it to. Oh, buy here. And what if it just bounces a little bit and it just walks down all the way back to the starting gate? Anybody seen that happen? That's what's going on here, but in the larger fractal of this nonsense. But how do you, it's not, sure, we could go long here, but how do you go long? Do you buy every pullback and accumulate? If you really think it's going here, you buy every pullback, you hold. And even if you have buy stops, well, you never got a fake breakout there, but you can't see the wicks. So maybe you kept getting trapped and you're accumulating. You need to build a position because, and maybe you get kicked out, and maybe you're making money scalping this too. The ideal thing is that, and now if you're a person that doesn't have a day job, you've got time to build a position here and scalp and learn that the markets do have a range and then they do go up. I think it's a little too late. I don't like to, if I can't get to my keyboard and pull the trigger on these things, I'm not going to chase this thing. I'll start thinking about putting sell limits up here to capture the first noise. And this is just a typical move. And sometimes Forex doesn't even have the jump the creek. You literally just get it go like this, and it goes double staircase on you, and it's just shear your head off. In fact, just go straight down. But this is before Forex. This guy died in, this guy's born in 1886 or some crap. When I saw Wyckoff theory, I said, okay, logic. Not even theory, it's logic, my friend. Good old logic, my friend. So, this is not just Wyckoff, this is Wyckofian. And the climax up there, we love that part. So, next thing. Now, here's a very long descriptive. These aren't in any order, so I should have worked you up to this, but this is here based on the phases too. So we have the distribution. Now, this is kind of like almost, but still a line chart, I think. It's not really a bar chart. No candlesticks, notice. So feel very clean and simple and principled here. None of that bling. But he's got some clouds on here. First sign of weakness. Now, it's too hard. Now, this looks like a classic move in Forex here. Look at this sell-off here. Just brutal, But see, I'm thinking, when I see that, I'm like, well, it's too late to get on that train. And I know we're going to go into this choppiness. And you have to be willing to become a range trader because that's where the market's at. I mean, it's a ranging market. To make enough money to pay for getting stopped out, you have to be able to have a trade plan for this kind of behavior. And of course, even this is classic, but he's describing for the people that want to know the underlying theme, and they just don't talk about this stuff. Everybody's moved on to these scanners and stuff. But definitely, I can see the trades here. I'd already have a buy limit here to buy new lows, right? As soon as you get down here, even this one, buy new low, a little scalp going on. Then we come back. You got the classic top bottom. Time to think about this move. Now here's where it's scary because you're like, wow, is this thing gonna just? You have to have a little bit of the first time it goes choppy. The first zigzag that doesn't keep going, you got to figure, just I guess in a common sense way, that this is just kind of like, wow. But then when it doesn't come down and do another, it's like, here we go. Now we're filling this vacuum. And you can see all the baby top bottoms here that you could take. If you're a trend trader, now this is a trend for somebody, for God's sakes. So is this. I mean, on the 1 minute chart or whatever it is, if you go down, that's a trend. But is this a trend and that a trend? Yeah, they're all trends. So this how to read a price chart is ridiculous. It's how to trade a price chart. Stop it with the theoretical stuff. I mean, stop with these people that are just they say they're going to show you how to trade, but they never do. They always have the damn well, see, cross. Yeah, what was it? What kind of order did you put in there? Well, don't ask me such silly questions. I don't execute trades. I just analyze the market. Oh, you just want to punch these people. Like, you're an analyst and you're wrong? I mean, what's even worse is these guys can't even they can't even make the right call because they don't think they don't know why the market's doing what it's doing. There's a cause and effect. Okay, see accumulation distribution. You can certainly see the head and shoulders there, right? And if you could make money from this trade alone. This top bottom, that's the scalper's move. The big picture, oh my God, maybe you got a buy limit here. You're going to wait forever to get filled. I can't do that. I can't afford to not. If I see a 5-minute setup, if I see a 5-minute pullback like this, I'm buying it. No questions asked. Got to have the trade ready to go. Got to have the ticket on deck. And that is the thing. You got to have it. You've got to be ready to go. You know, all these preppers out here, oh, ready to go. I'm like, you're so. My buddy Tequila Putty's a prepper. He's so hammered, I don't think he'd be able to find the keys to the safe. I swear to God. So, you know, it's like being an on-call surgeon. Those guys get a lot of money because they have to be sober all day, waiting for the trade, waiting for that victim to come in. So here's a kind of a spells it out again, right? The trading range. This one you can do more top bottom analysis, and this is, I don't know if this is from a real chart. I think he just kind of drew this out, but you know, like here's a perfect top bottom. This is a trend for somebody, very short-lived, and you see these patterns over and over again. It's what to do about them. Now, when the market goes sideways like this, you know, unless you're on the 1-minute chart and you're running a 3-pip stop, no money for you. And then when we finally, and of course this is one last, he's abbreviated all these things here, but this is a deeper pullback. See, now, just because this is a top become a bottom, people say, well, you know, it overshot the runway. Yeah, it came back into the trading range. It dips back in here now. That's because there are so many people ready to board that train and there's still not, if this accumulation phase didn't go on long enough, the cause will not be as, and maybe it'll be over dramatic because the cause created a bigger effect. And so the top bottom thing, you don't even get hardly, here's almost a perfect top bottom. Imagine the wick's going to fill you though. You get filled on the wick. And when the market's down here, I'm buying on stops. If I have a hotkey set and I see this, I'm like, oh yeah. So we have a confirmed breakout, and this is where people are getting trapped, because if they buy here on a breakout and their stop's too tight, they're kicked out. So, I mean, the classic thing is to put a stop here and a buy stop here, but it doesn't mean that there's not a wick on here you can't see when the news came out. And so that's how you get stopped out. And but you're stuck with first principle of what is price over time, and this is price over time. So this phase has a certain, you have to, is this tradable? Do you have time? Are you chasing it if you get on this train? Or are you going to trade the new lows, buy, and then start your accumulation and realize during accumulation phase, you've got all night or you got the next 4 hours to play the accumulation game. And then, you know, by Parker Brothers. And then there's I was hoping to see this, here's the other thing is that you connect these together. You see the window down here where you get the double bottom. And this is like complete failure to get us down here. And this would be the shoulder, the head. The shoulder is forming here, but you have to be open to this. And right now it's going straight up, right? Because a lot of people cashing out here. The whole void has been filled. And the creek's been but the creek is a tough, people don't like a creek. They want to go somewhere. Where's the market going? Where's the trend? Okay. Is the trend your friend? It is until you hit the creek, apparently. Or no, here's the creek. You jump the creek. Maybe his creek's up here. So everybody has a different interpretation. So go to the next slide here. And this is just a way to exercise your brain here's a classic, right? Role reversal. This is this is the Bruce Jenner trade. Some like it hot. I don't know if you saw that one. So here is the kind of the stairway to heaven and hell. Another classic, now this steepness here is also, if you zoom out on your charts, you'll get this really sharp moves like this, and it very daunting task to try to trade that because you got to zoom in. This looks, when I first see this, I just think, good Lord, hopefully you're holding this trade from, I mean, just psychologically speaking, from the steepness of this, that hopefully you're long here and maybe you can endure. A lot of people are getting the hell out here, and a move this violent, honestly, and you have to bank money. You can't go for, if this target is just, and this is Elliott wave, I think actually 1, 2, 3. Elliott 4, yeah. So this accumulation phase, you can see it very easy. Anytime you see a doji or a thing, you know you're in that phase. Now, what's the trade plan? Buy stop with protection. But it doesn't mean that you cannot buy. And this is the argument I had with this guy's these empowered trading people is they thought it was a strange question. It's completely a simplistic question. Too much. Why not put a buy limit here? Because you know this low exists and it's going up. Put a buy stop here, put a buy limit, do both trade plans, and buy at the market. The first pullback you buy. You're going to be in a 4K. Real quick here. You need to build a position and dump it. You need to build a warehouse and sell your stuff in there. You need to see what style of order. If this is coming down, you have a sell stop here. You sold at the market on the first high. You have selling a limit here. Okay. If it goes sharp down like that, I might have bought. If this is a 1 hour down, I buy. It goes up for an hour. I hopefully scalp out of something. Because what if it's not done? It's a revolving door, so I have to sell there. And so maybe I dump. Then I'm like, well, you know what? For the stop entry guys, they're going to have a sell stop here. And they may get trapped there if they don't have a wide enough stop. There's stop issues. So I know this exists. Then the trend traders, we buy in a limit here, and we have a sell stop also. So you have to trade both. In a way, you have to do both people's. You can't just cater to one direction. And if you spread your risk here, and maybe you are selling on a limit here, you're going to get the insurance. You're paying for the insurance policy of trying to. But if you're convinced that it's still going to go down, that this is where you're not going to be perfectly right. Now, maybe you have to put 3 orders up in here and 1 order down here. This is obviously if your total risk hard stops up here, you're getting involved here in all different sorts of ways. You cannot be involved in a singular trade, a singular. You got to take and split your ticket, because the robot's going to do a dumb trade like that. He's going to get chopped up here and not see the big picture, or not see that, not even the big picture, but how to place orders for different reasons. One's a parachute. One's, hey, you know what? Maybe you think this is going back up, but what if you're wrong? Bill Williams will tell you, put a parachute in there. If this isn't going to go like this and go back up, and you're going to cash out at the scalping where the scalpers are going to get out, maybe it's going to keep going down. And you put sells in there, and you'd be surprised how many times, and this is a little bit tough on your ego, that you're making money by being wrong. Making your money by saying, I have a parachute in there. So this is the devil in the details, is how are you getting in here without getting screwed? Because if you just put a clean buy stop here and a clean sell stop here like we've all been taught, sure, that trade could work out. But what if it fills here, kicks back, and then it does go up? We can't see the wicks here. That's definitely the downfall of the, not a downfall, but you can't get around the fact that you have to first establish where you are in the structure of the market. These are real structures. There's no wicks here. Just say no to wicks. There's a very concise example in a trend trade. And you're either babysitting this thing. So if you don't have a day job and you're willing to watch this come back to here, which I find very grueling. I'm buying here actually early, a couple limits because I'm a little over eager. Plus, if you're going to babysit it, you're going to put buy stops here. And see, you're thinking, oh, we're going to go like we did last time. Uh-oh, sorry, one more retest. Now, this is where I make this joke about you're in a relationship with the market, and it's like, you know, your wife, your significant other, says, oh, I got this great idea. Like, here's with the idea. You're at home, right? This is where you live. Hey, and then she comes home from work. She's all depressed. And you're like, oh my God, I just made some money trading. I'm gonna take her out to eat. And she goes, oh, I got this great idea. Let's go out to eat. And you're like, oh yeah. And then maybe later we can come home and like, you know, molest each other like rabbits. And then, so then she, oh yeah, okay. Well, next morning, hey, you still want to go to that thing? You're like, yeah, let's go. And then she goes, okay, well, we're going to go. And then you go, oh, wait a minute, honey, you left your keys. I left my stuff at home. My cell phone dropped on the floor. So you come back. Now, in the idealistic world, people don't think, well, you know, everything's go perfectly, right? And because you got this pattern in your head, this scenario, it's going to go. But she comes back one more time. Now, if this annoys you, and you don't take advantage of to go and, you know, grab a cookie out of the cookie jar because your wife's looking for her cell phone, or you don't take that opportunity to go and check your email for the girlfriend that you have on the side, then you're missing out on a great opportunity. And that's why I say continually in my videos, you've got to take something off the table on this run here and maybe even sell into that. You have to be ready for the possibility that your wife is not totally organized. And usually it's the other way around. The only reason to have a wife is so she can help you find stuff. So you'd be lost without her, and certainly that is a problem later on. People are married, and one person dies, and the other person's got to die. And that's a sad thing, because they are like, as much as they might argue, they're literally depending on each other. So the next thing here is the classic. Now this is a classic pattern we've all seen, and I've seen this trading book too. It used to boggle my mind, because nowhere in here is a description of, now here, look at the buy point, right? But this could still come slamming back on you. Is this part tradable? And I think there's trades for everything on here. And this is the trend line. People are accumulating on a trend line. So there's a triangular accumulation phase. And here's where you're getting your ass kicked. Now, you don't see it on here because if your buy point is here, he doesn't say whether it's a stop or at the market. Now, if the market's a little too... unless you're going to babysit that, and I've babysat these on the smaller time frame going, thank God I'm already long from down here. Because if I had to rely on this breakout, you can't see no wicks in here. And what if you kept getting filled on wicks here? And you're like, oh God, you need more. You cannot trade with one position. Now maybe you can. I'd like to see that. You can't bet the ranch, and this is why you never in your life, I swear to God, I mean, you could do it for entertainment purposes. And if you ever do take out a Fibonacci tool, try connecting it on closing prices. It's a little more fascinating. And try connecting your Gartley there and like, what is this? How many bats make a triangle? You get totally lost in that stuff. To me, it's not trading. It's just fantasy world nonsense. It's a way, and I really think these empowered trading people only do it because the public demands Fibonacci and harmonic. It's like they demand a boob job on some already hot chicken. Was just watching this, I guess these Kardashian people, which, well, it says a lot for people's brain power. This chick's already got like lip injections, and it's so sad that everybody kind of worships the iconic standard of idealism, whatever. Sad. Not that we're all not somewhat pulled into the nobody's immune from we all have to communicate with cliches or we'd never understand each other, so everybody's passing around this stuff for a reason. But some people just watch for the sheer the same people drive slow by a car crash, they're fascinated by a train wreck. So maybe it's train wreck viewing, who knows. But it's definitely scary that somebody's going on the age of was chicks like 18 or something having plastic surgery, and like, wow, that's looks scary. This is you're building a Frankenstein ahead of time. Now here's an example. That is one of my favorite trade setups. We've all seen this one, but of course the problem is, how do you trade it? Well, now this one's easier to trade from a person that's not a day trader in this scenario, because we already know this, and this is my favorite. I do a bunch of videos on that thing, and I'm going to do that at the end of this thing. How I get to that, and where those actually. This is all idealistic, conceptual stuff here, but in the real market, this stuff really does exist. And you don't need a fib tool or a moving average, and you really don't want to put that in there, honestly. You don't want another distraction. It's hard enough to place orders. I mean, you should be focusing just on the boring stuff of placing mundane orders. And you'd be surprised. It's just like domino theory. You set them up, you let it. If let the market prove you right. This is Alexander Elder wisdom, and that's what a great guy. So here's the trade. Now there's people that are going to buy here like me. The limit retest, and what if I do think it's going up? The second chance, and then I want to be long before this trend line break typically, because I'd probably actually buy here. I'd have stops right now. This is where it comes into how often do you want to trade. I define high frequency trading as trading a lot. It's not the fact that you're trying to get your ticket to the order floor faster. The execution speed of high frequency trading is complete nonsense. That's called skimming. You're not scalping, you're trying to skim. If you're going to arbitrage a spread, I get it, the idea that if you're trading big enough, but you're not if you had to pay commissions on those trades, you'd never, right? That's another bunch of garbage. There's a movie out there called High Frequency Traders. It's complete victimhood, anti-reason, mystic. Don't get me started. So, and so here's the thing about this. Sellers are coming in, and so this is an angular accumulation, and this doesn't always happen, and this could just be happening randomly, but it gives you a obvious place to start placing. Now I'd have a buy limit here, honestly. if I'm going to go long, and you probably got trapped here on a breakout. Don't forget, if you have to have multiple tickets, because if you got trapped here and they stopped you out on the throwback, you have to have another order here. Now, that sounds funny that you're going to get in where you got out, but the only way you're going to make money in these markets is to maintain a margin amount that's going to make it worth the while for this ride. So there is no one, you have to endure an uncomfortable position of saying, I'll buy here, I'll buy here, I'll buy here in a stop. And I might get stopped out of that, but I have a contingency, I have a buy limit stacked up in the middle. Always looking for that pullback, because you always have to buy low, sell high. That's a concept and a principle that, and that buy low has to be a buy limit. It cannot be a buy stop down here. So you need to think in limits, markets, and stops. The stop is the risky entry, because what if they throw back? Now this is what they teach, confirmation entry. But what if there's confirmation? You're going to have to risk more in confirmation, right? And it's going to take it's going to take longer. But you got to have the throwback limit order sitting underneath. You have buy stops for that. You got to have 3 tickets. Maybe you got buy limits here. Maybe you're loading the wagon on this pullback because you're babysitting the market and you're like, this is the 5-minute chart. You're like, buy, 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 buy. Now, I could do that by pressing a button. I could stack up a $50,000 position right here coming back in stops with predetermined exits. And I'm only looking to make to here, mind you, because I've already got a shitty fill on this thing. I've already got all this risk in here. So you build this position, then dump. Scale in, scale out. And this is why you don't ever want to go down the Gartley highway, because you need to spend your time scaling in and scaling out. You're a trader. You're not an analyzer. You have a principle. You buy low, you sell high. This is my principle, core principle. I should have said is buy low, sell high. This is the concept. Of course, those things are kind of interchangeable, and I have to reread the definitions occasionally. This is very complicated. In a way, it's simple, but it goes into complexity once you. And this whole time, I've only been on a few fractals here. So I don't know if you you need trade plans for every pattern. And even if you're a candlestick trader, I'd like to know the trade plans. And people usually go with I buy in a stop, I put a stop here. It's not going to be enough. And if every time it comes back here, you happen to walk by with a cookie in your hand in the morning and you see it's back here, you buy at the market without questions asked. And especially if they're filling your limit here and you go, you know what? You confirm that they came back, market preview right, and you're like, I knew I was right, and you buy another one. You have to build positions and dump them. That's my favorite thing, is build them and dump. Really be the market, be the ball. Anybody see Caddyshack? Be the ball. Come on, stop with these. You got to have some zen in your game. There's another setup I prefer, or another scenario that this is always dicey because this is the trend trader's death of the trend trader. And the distribution phase is very quick up here. Perfect head and shoulders. Only on closing prices. And there's a Keel Stokes. I don't know if anybody's been tortured by his videos, but the guy calls in with this head and shoulders nonsense. And notice it doesn't exist on the wicks. You cannot put head and shoulders on wicks. You can't call out these wicks. Those are not. That is the head and shoulders on the 1 minute chart. Okay. The wicks are a 1 minute chart. You can only live in the time unless you're running this. These stupid tick charts where, I mean, maybe not stupid, but people have these tick charts that have no reference of time. It's how many. I tried to run that years ago, and I thought, no, you just blew my time frame. I can't live in that world. It's bad enough. I'm trading this stuff, and I got this thing that's going to say, well, when we get to 21 ticks, we're going to paint a bar. And that's actually taking out the noise of the market. You don't want to take the noise out of these markets. The noise is the market. Do not denoise the market. if you do any music production, you just send your files raw, uncompressed to a guy that has a bunch of high-end mastering stuff. You don't send him a bunch of compressed files. He's got nothing. You don't send people. Nobody has a signal service where they have, or nobody does a video where they don't have the price. They just have moving averages. I should do that as a joke. To disprove moving averages, but it's like because you know, Jesus Christ. Right. So the next item up for bid is the infamous descending triangle. Now this one I find to be very depressing and sad because I like markets to go up. So what's the trade plan there? You have to endure some punishment here. I mean, you have to deal with the constant, oh, I left my keys at home. I left my keys at home. Like, are we going to go, honey, are we going to, oh, yeah, no, change of plan. How do you feel about a change of plan? If you're a rigid person, sure, breakout. That's what everybody's selling. But they sold here. They thought that was a breakout. See? Can't see the wicks on here. This is just nothing but follow through at the end of time as time marches by. So consider that too. And that's another thing. And when I see here, I'm always rehearsing what is the trade plan? What is the plan? Here, obviously. Now this is a very this is a classic Wyckoff. You can just go into Google and type in Wyckoff. This is actually somebody took a photo, I think here. It's a little crooked. But classic, right? Cut off Wyckoff. I think we know what we're looking at. Let's not insult their intelligence. And this is a classic top-bottom theory of a trend. You buy pullbacks on stops. You have a limit here. You have limits actually to the middle of there. Don't forget, there could be a wick. And this is going to be, if this is the daily chart, you're going to make so much money in this trade. You're going to have to put on those orders in though. And maybe you bail on 50% of your position on this price pulse, or maybe you get out of the whole position here. This is where you have to have some discipline, unless you really counter trend trade that. Now, some people, the trend traders are going to go like this. I put buy limits here for the kickback. I wait, I dump. So maybe I accumulate. There's got to be an accumulation phase in here. You can't see it on the smaller time frames. And then you dump, you buy in pullbacks. And this is an astounding move. And maybe you do buy in stops, but you also bought this as it's pulling back. If it's pulling back in, accumulate, dump, just like the market. Here, buy limits, but maybe they overshot on the wick. You're going to get stopped out. You need multiple orders. I mean, the last trade I did when I sheared about 8,000 off of this demo, $8,000 is that I had so many tickets. It was ungodly, like 2,000 tickets running. So I was just trying to test that theory and just, you know, of course, it's impractical to unload those tickets in time to take advantage of so many scalps because one ticket, right, you can get out. It definitely does take, especially if this is the 1 minute chart and you're selling up here. Now, when it goes sideways here, you go totally flat. If that was a 1 minute chart, it would be like buy here, pullbacks, and dump because you're on a 1 minute chart. And this might be a 25 pip move on a 1 minute chart. What if this is the daily chart and we go into this phase and your trend bot's trying to keep going with the trend because the trend's your friend? He's going to get crushed to death. So having a trade plan for this nonsense and accepting that the market's dynamic. And now here I feel like if I missed building a sell of some degree in here, that I really am uncomfortable with a stop here. Now this could be, if this is the 1 hour chart, this is like maybe 8 hours, and you'd see two climaxing, and you could put all sorts of spins on. Like I saw two, sheared off crows. I love the name of those candles. Oh, I saw two marching bananas. And they were perfectly designed, and I got it. But in the end, those people are just like, oh, I'll put a sell stop here at the bottom. Yeah, okay, that's great. But don't you want to just throw think of all the people getting trapped here on these fake continuations of this flag, right? Everybody knows what the flag trade is. We've all heard that. So are you comfortable with just being, and that you maybe you are comfortable with that, but you're gonna get clobbered. You can't trade too big like this. If you put a stop here and you're going to trade that breakout, what if it wicks up before it crushes down? And it probably would. If you look at the real prices that did happen without regard to time, there's no time on a wick. Wick has no relationship in time. It's if this is we don't know how long it took for that wick to form, but we do know how long it took this bottom to become a top, this bottom to become top, as we trend traders come back in and trade it from a trend standpoint. But you have to see this coming. You have to look at the hole it's filling. It's in, maybe you are a trend trader, and trend continuation traders, when they do that stuff, I just cringe. They're not telling you. It's to say you're a trend continuation trader without a trade plan, without a way to trade it, and how to play a trend. It's ridiculous. But even the range trade, I mean, if you see the once it starts to fall down, and here you didn't even get a chance, and you do this pullback to get in, you see there's no fill here. Maybe on the wicks. Now you'd have to look back. That's the only back test I would say is you want to see this in theory. And this is the theory. You go to the real charts. So at the end of this thing, this is a long video, but you really have to be aware of the fact you cannot have a single ticket. Mark Douglas will tell you that. Anybody have a brain, you cannot trade one. You can't have one car on your showroom floor and hope to sell that car, even if it's the profit on that car is going to be double your money. You're selling a Ferrari. You can't have one car in your showroom. Trading's a business. Here, no fill. Maybe it didn't come back here. Uh-oh. So you look back and you say, maybe I should trade on stop entry. Trade it all. Trade a Gartley. But don't put all your eggs in one basket. Now, do you have the psychological flexibility to say, this is a range trade, this is a trend trade? There are trend trades. And I would even do this on when the news comes out, if you're on the 15-minute chart and you see this setup, hey, if you got the button ready, now this is a lot of the stuff you'd be psychologically, I feel bad if I don't have the ticket ready for that. So I think to myself, I gotta go to a larger time. You go down a small time frame because there's more opportunity, but unless you have the ticket ready, it's a frustrating thing to watch happen. Because you're like, oh, got to trade this thing that's coming down here. But there's the option to say, you know what? This is the 15-minute chart. We got a whole day ahead of us. Let me start putting buy stops here. I think the big pictures were going up. Like you see this other fractal in the big picture. And let me just start buying here. I'll buy. Every time it comes down, I'll buy at the market. Now, that's trading on the clock. You come to your terminal. You see it's down. You want to buy low. You buy one. Now, do you scalp out of that? Maybe you do. But maybe you're accumulating over the next 4 hours. You've told yourself. There's a little self-talk in there, or you're buying new lows, exclusively on limits. Maybe no stop entries. Of course, you're going to miss out on adding to the position on the buy stop here that would have got picked up in that. So if you trade it on limits and stops in one direction, and if you're right, you will definitely clean up because you'll also be scaling out of some of this stuff. And you bought this new low, and they even have a buy limit here for the scary, what if it keeps going down? Well, what if a bumblebee had wings? Or what if a bullfrog had wings? He wouldn't bump his butt or something. All these ifs, it's just ridiculous and just going to put fear in your brain and keep you from trading. So I like selling Climax too. It's Climax secondary test. Honey, I left the keys at home. Honey, I left the iron on. Just burned down the house though. Now here's a complete. I like short fall. Now this is coming back to fair value. Here's your entry. Interesting. to buy. Get that one. That's a bizarre place to get in. Oh, breakout. Oh, it says entry there. It's also, you have to start with what you feel comfortable with, and then once you get to trading, and I do say go to the 1 minute chart and 5 minute chart and trade these setups and trade them on a demo, get used to it, and then it'll just jump out at you. But just stay away from the candles because you really want to do the Karate Kid trading technique, wax on, wax off. Turn the candles on and then turn them off. Go to the line chart and keep on going back and forth, and you'll see that you really be very confused by candles, the story it's trying to tell you. Now here's a version of taking your moving average. Take a 3-period moving average and do top-bottom analysis. I don't have this template set up, but you can see the classic buy and pullbacks. You're going to put your stops in here. This is a smoothed out version, but here's a nice top-bottom. Here's now top-bottom. So you got filled here, and maybe you bought the first bottom you saw. You don't need to have any complexity in your life. Beautiful double top bottom, and this is going to have more, in Wyckoff theory, this is a bigger cause. The more zigzags, the bigger, the longer the cause, the bigger the effect. That's a principal concept. And so the next one is, this is a very complicated, but he explains the creek here. Now this is a very elaborate. This looks like a. If you see this on the 1 minute chart, it's not this exact pattern though. These are just concepts. So you can see on the market really. Here's a beautiful top bottom. Look at this little baby top bottom here. Just before the last plunge. You can really get. You can go whipsaw to death in here. But here's the trap. So you're always buying down here without regard. And perfect top bottom. And the trend traders jump on this, and of course we've already moved this much, and we still haven't filled the whole lot. We still got to go after this price. So this is a target, and this floor is rejected. He doesn't show it here, but see the bottom does not become a top here and just blow through that. But you kind of have to see that. You have to have a sense for that because you have to realize that we still haven't filled this void. And he does a supply and demand. He makes sense out of why these markets move the way they do. It has to do with markup, and then you mark it. There's a markup again. These are auction markets. They're putting these things are going on sale, and this is when it goes sideways. People may be accumulating in both directions, and some of this is this up move is the bears and the shorts having to turn around and buy back before they get really clobbered. Wyckoff buy zone. Because this is the first top bottom out of the gate. Notice his buy zone. Top bottom, this is a real ideal. You're still in the accumulation price zone, and the big players, this is the lack of volume. One more sell-off. Of course, I want to buy here, and I want to buy here, and I want to stop buying typically if I'm going to just ride this and not add, because adding to the position psychologically can be difficult, because now you're saying, oh, I'm so right about this trade, I'm going to add here at this time. Maybe you get a little bit. I wouldn't get too carried away, because now you're saying, God, what if this thing just, and it's not like it hasn't happened. So you have to rehearse psychologically how you're going to trade this next week based on what you know to be true. And the market's already laid out the map. Oh, how'd this get in here? Now, this is why I do not agree with this. And this is a product of John Dewey, I believe. This is ridiculous. Now, I put this in here and for the reason of, if this is my argument that if you landed on the moon, or no, that if you had a tool wrench set that was metric, and you're like, well, I only have a metric tool, so I can't work on your car. This is an unflexible. These ratios are so ridiculous. And what is the trade here? This is a mind bender. When I first saw this, I thought, wow, this is like a cult. This is a cult classic. And putting this in, noticing this void has nothing to do, it's not even, you can see how stupid this is, right? Aren't you just buying this on a limit, and you're buying here? Aren't you just going to put buy stops? What is the trade plan? You're putting buy stops here on this pullback. I guess I'm distracted by this nonsense. Like, why do I care about this? These extrapolations, this complexity worship is just ridiculous. I almost think that these turn into those things, those paper things that you would, does anybody remember those paper? You could make, my sister would do it. And you could flip back and forth and you'd answer a question. And there'd be a question. It was like the answer to the poor man's 8-ball with the floating answer in there. Do they still make that? They should have one for traders that say, you ask the magic 8-ball, should I take this trade? It says stuff like, go look at your fib tool. This is why I completely don't believe in the religion of Fibonacci or these special magic numbers. This is not the market. These are contrived things. It's so ridiculous I can hardly look at it any longer. So, and if you could please explain to me, if there was anything that was unprincipled, it's got to be this. This is a concrete, fixed ratio of garbage. And if you're going to go searching for these setups, I mean, I get a headache looking at that stuff. But maybe I'm in the minority because this is the popular, the latest boob job here. Here's the classic, right? No explanation needed. You need a trade plan for that. You have to have multiple tickets. Buy stop. But you have a buy stop here, and this is walking down. Now here's what I talk about in my videos about canceling this buy stop, and I did a scalping video where I kept plucking off these buy stops because guess what? Those prices suck. Now, getting the margin, the Goldilocks is to get your margin so that you have buy stops there, and you're like, you know what? I got a buy limit here, but personally, I don't have the patience to come back to here, but I know this is where I should really load the wagon. But I'll build it, and I'll end up here anyways if I keep plucking these off. So I'm forced to do what the market... I'm forced to go along with the market. Now, if you're... this is where personality psychology trading is a conflict. That if you're a person that likes to direct things and control things, and you can't... or you're impatient, you can't wait for it to come back to this classic setup, that you can go to another. What I typically do is I go write new scripts or play with the. This is a thing. If you want to be at your screen and be productive while you're waiting to get filled on, say, this limit, maybe you're on a. In other words, say this is the 4-hour chart, but you can go and scalp and trade this on the way to the destination. Or you just play with the templates in your platform, or maybe goes to some inappropriate website or something. And because you're in front of your computer, and you could have a. I used to have this EA that was an indicator kind of thing, and it just literally was hilarious because it was set to trade a moving average crossover, and it would inevitably at the top of each hour it would go bing because a lot of these. Orders are executed at the opening of markets, and there's a lot of volatility. So it was great, like clock. It would just like clockwork. But that's if you're trading on the clock. Now, also buying every hour it comes down into this and building positions, but not overbuilding at the top here and getting a bad price. But if you're going to already buy in a stop here, it's better to buy here on a pullback, cancel out that buy stop, and the market's actually giving you a break because. And of course, this is the I wish I should have, would have, could have. If it it just shears through that immediately, and there is no walk back. You're going to wish you would have bought more here, right? You don't always have, but the contingency is that you have a buy stop here, but you have buy limits here now. And this is what's going past, I think, Empowered Trading's concept of how you actually, because they just analyze the market. They're not full-time traders. They're just like courses. You have to be willing to figure out, okay, so if you to save yourself, if you have a day job, your order plan is going to be buy stop and buy limits. All the way to here, buy limits. And maybe even to here. This is your high risk entry. And these are going to be your better trades. Because if you don't have time to babysit this as it walks down and throw in buy stops, you got to go do something. So you need a whole grid. And when I say grid trading, people might misunderstand. I don't mean in the sense of a grid robot. What a grid robot does is it puts on a hedge. I don't mean that. I don't mean building a hedge here and dumping when you get up so many pips and going the other way. No, I'm just speaking in terms of scaled grid and scaling into a trade with a grid. You can't place all these orders and go to work. Now, if you have a day job, you're probably going to make more money because if you're watching this happen in front of you, the first time it comes back here, you're going to buy maybe, and you still got limits in here. And you might over. Plus, it's scary. It's very scary to watch a trade fill sometimes because you're like, oh God, what if it keeps? It's better to set it and forget it. I have a day job. So a day job traders can make a ton of money now. You can set these orders up on the hourly chart. You don't have to look at the 4-hour chart because this is a 1-hour chart. If you saw a bunch of every top and bottom, or every bottom gets an order, but you have the willing to commit to that canvassing an area as opposed to going for this precise Gartley nonsense. Here is the complicated Wyckoff thing. Here you can see the a lot of this is the where we have a trend continuation, another accumulation. Obviously, you can see the trade that you need to do there. So you have to think in terms of trade types and tactics. It's a tactical issue. It's a technique, and the technique is really choosing the right thing. Another cliche. But this is the horizontal view. This does happen at an angle when the market heats up. You would do that at an angle. You start to see velocity kick in. And here's the very first one. I saw this years ago, and this hit me over the head with a ton of bricks. This is the most clean, concise example. And here's the first top bottom, which I got a kick out of. The simplicity of this is really got to be the poster child of support from resistance. And here you can see that if you have a day job, you place your limits here. You don't want to chase in here, but maybe you have buy stops here too. So I would and I describe it in the video there. All the orders you got to place, and I maybe overcompensate. I may have overdid it, but everybody overdoes it, right? If you're really excited about something, you really go in over your head, and all those orders seem unmanageable at first, but first you start off with one tinker toy. Next thing you know, you got a whole. But this is not typically how things go. And then, of course, you have to kind of get more organized because you get overwhelmed with all the stuff. Here's this is the redneck version done in Western font. Another obvious example. Here's another without having the other part of the story. Now, this even blows away the Gartley pattern in terms of ultimate simplicity. What is the trade there? And so you really, you really have to have more than one ticket. You can see that. It's painfully obvious. So I hope. I know it's hard to think that it could be this simple, but you are going to get stopped out of some of these trades. And there's the smooth version. Here's the perfect idealistic stairway to heaven, stairway to hell. And this doesn't have, this has a little more velocity, so you don't have actually a perfect pullback to this. And there probably could be a wick in here, though. And I'm going to go to the real charts in a minute here, but look at all these different. Now, once this is burned into your brain, that these structures do exist. I like thrust, though. And I think the thrust is into the climax. Notice the subliminal message there. So trading can be sexy, I suppose, on some level. Although it's boring as hell, really, because you have to place the orders in there and then just see what happens. And here is the trend line on like a 5-period moving average. Here's your classic. Here's kind of a description telling you what's going on here. Keynotes. A slow uptrend where price reaches. Now, people do love these paces where you can just have a nice, gentle trade. Of course, by then, and don't forget, by this time, the trade's over. The MACD crossovers, moving average crossovers, you're late to the game. You're not even trading the market. You're trading this. And people say, I know it has lag, but it's a guide unless it's misguiding. You're misguided by moving averages. It's not a guide. It's a misguide. It's not even the market. I know it's tough to get your hands dirty and put these orders in, but and then there another description. Here's another really clean example, concise, and we've seen this a million times in Forex. This type of congestion that's a little bit annoying if you're looking for a completion of this move. This is where you stop off at the. This is where you get a flat tire, right? You're going on vacation, you get a flat tire. If this pisses you off, and then this is going to come to you, and when this happens to you in the market, you're going to feel like you have a flat tire. So your ability to psychologically deal with bad things in the world, what happened when you go into trading is that the kind of the bonus of being able to endure the punishment of the market makes real life seem so easy. And the routine and the simplicity and the counting onness that you get and the confirmation you get, don't forget, you get, anybody ever make a payment online and they give you a confirmation number? But what if they don't give you one? If you come unwrapped during that, maybe you would come unwrapped during this reaccumulation. Because after the throwback, you weren't counting on such a long reaccumulation. So there's a psychological skill of, and this is why you want to go take a martial arts class or go do something brutal. And you got to do something where you can condition yourself to, same thing here. Redistribution can be a bitch. And here's a nice, clean, colored version. Cause and effect. Break the ice. I love that. The creek's up here. The ice is up here. And this has got even a deeper pullback. And this is another thing. These ass clowns over in Power Trading have the 2618 club. 2618 trade. Look it. I got my fill. Oh my God, dude. Like, who hasn't been selling and just, this is nothing but another place to add more. And not to mention, somebody traded that high probability fresh lows and scalped into that and they're out. So everybody's making money if they know where they're at in this big picture. But the 2618, how many times are you going to, and they're doing it on Wix, mind you. what do you even say about that? Once you see that this is price over time, and then you see these people talking about the Fibonacci, if you're really going to use Fibonacci, put it on the closing price because it only makes sense. Why are these people putting in a wicks? Who has their orders sitting on the tip of the wick? Akil Stokes can't get filled on his trade because he can't figure out the fact that the wick is a momentary lapse of reason. Right? Even Pink Floyd will tell you that. So you don't need and then here is the symbol, like just with this, the test support. I like this beautiful triangle here before we break out. And this looks like a 5-minute chart in a way. Here's a very messed up. Now this is what really blows people's minds is when the market does this stuff. I love this distribution schematic. This guy, Logic, I mean, Wyckoff, this guy, I'm telling you what, my hero. And look how messy this is. This is where the breakout and comes back and another chance to go back and get your car keys, hon. And this is another one of those, oh, come on already. Can we just break down? Baby top, bottom before the last. This is the part that just tortures people. But look at this. Top, bottom, little baby trade here. If you're up for that trade. Look at this beautiful triangle breakout. Another trap, failed attempt. And oh my God, are we going to finally break out? And we got sell stops in here for God's sakes. And if you saw this on a 1-minute chart, and you see that on a 1-minute chart, I was trading this actually on the 1-minute chart on the euro dollar. I just kept buying. I was actually buying on stops, getting a bad price, but I knew what to do. And even if I'm wrong, I'm scalping out the whole time in here. I'm range trading this thing. Sure, this is the news comes out, right? And maybe it's going to go this way, maybe it's going to go that way, but it doesn't. It goes down. Unless you're situated with a sell key, it's unavailable to you, that trade. So the only preparation you need is to have that ticket ready if you're babysitting this thing. But what if you have a day job? Well, obviously, if you have a day job, you just have sell limits up here at new highs. You don't know if it's going to keep going up. Do you know that? No. You're like, hey, what? It's climaxing up. I'm selling there. And you have the predetermined scalps to here. You know this exists. This is not a secret. This has already been formed. In fact, you even know when this is screaming up, and so maybe this is Asia session. You sell Asia? What's the big deal? How many times has the market climaxed into the next rollover session here? This is always the rollover phase. How many times have we seen a market just keep screaming? It doesn't. The auction's over. Now we either distribute or reaccumulate. And if you watch the subtle things happening during Asia, and maybe it doesn't complete. That's okay. But you'll see, and he doesn't really drill down. This is happening like this phase in here. This thing lives inside of here on a smaller time frame. So getting all those rhythm cues, and there's a rhythm to this because it's the closing price. It's the kick drum of the music. This is not the wicks are the wicks are the dynamics. It is not the kick drum. The kick drums in music are solid. And there's a little bit of dynamics, but it's the pulse that everybody's trading off this 1-hour chart, say. And now the rest of the music, on top of that, is the the wicks, and that's the that's all the other instruments, all the other noise in the noise really, and because the kick drum is the foundation. This is the pace that we're going at, and that's laid out in time. And this is the bridge. This is a guitar solo up here. But the foundational is the closing price. There's another where somebody just took a picture. I like that. Somebody got out their cell phone. And so the schematic, anatomy of a trading range. So it's a structure. This is anatomy. This is why when you go to the hospital, they take an x-ray of you. Closing prices, x-ray. And here's a spelled out version. If you just type in support resistance on, all these things come up. Old resistance, new support. What's the trade plan? You're going to get kicked out of some of these trades. It's going to come in deeper than you think, and you have to have hand place the orders, get some precise spacing going, and you can pull it off. And you'll see that that's definitely the this one Akil Stokes thing. It's so funny. This one video he did, he said he starts it off and he says, you know, he's losing at trading and stuff. And what do you do if you're losing at trading? He says, well, if you're really losing and things aren't going good, then go to your go-to trade, the one you know works. Now, does that just seem like the most laughable thing you've ever heard in your life? Like, why don't you just go to the go-to trade all the time? Oh, because I've got this other idea. Okay, so this is the go-to trading. That's the end of this session. So you can drop out, move along, people. I don't want to splice this to the other video, so I'm going to go right into the charts now. And then one more thing. Before I go to the charts, I wanted to do this. Show you on the internet that you can go to this. I'll put the link to the site where you can load this CDF player. And there's a guy named Wolfram that has these apps that are floating, and I don't know what they're in, but you can play around this thing. And so now that we've seen the idealistic thing, I'm going to go to a interactive where you can create your own scenarios. And this is all living in an abstract, I'm still in the conceptual abstract principle phase of this presentation. So here's the simulations of, this is the simulation of the random walk theory. I think we've all heard of the random walk theory. Geez, I just, my recorder just jumped. I just hate that. If you accidentally grab the wrong thing, I just move the whole thing. I can't believe it still records through that. Simulating the random walk theory. Now, this is a really cool app. I found it to be very fascinating as the day is long, because you can play with the settings in here. Kind of, I feel like I lost some space here, but so here is the seed, and you can make the seed whatever. And you've seen this before with these correlations. People have these currencies like, oh, look at this currency's going to that. Yeah, how do you trade that, right? Got a trade plan for that? This will just give you the ridiculous. This is a standard deviation away from the seed point here. But I just find this to be endlessly fascinating, because you really have to wonder when you see people do this presentation of the correlation between other currency pairs, you just kind of crack up. Because when I saw this, I go, well, it looks like that nonsense. And totally tradable. Here's an interesting, well, that was, of course, more seeds create more, it's completely random. So anything can happen. Here's the other one. This is another, this is the, let's go to the next Brownian. This is based on Brownian theory. Oh, here's the polynomial fits on a random walk. This is when people poop moving averages, and this happens to be kind of a nice example of closing price moving averages. You can play with this. This is just a killer toy, and you can just get a quick update. Now you pull back the moving averages on this. This is how people try to curve fit. This is curve fitting with polynomials. Polynormals. Not a mathematician, but and even here you can see the you can play around and create all sorts of scenarios. You see the top bottoms in there? This is completely random. And there's your seed, and of course this is your moving averages on top. And you can see all the, look at that. Oh, like that was a better crossover. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's too much on my screen. I don't know if I can trade that. And that's, take this out. The cool thing is you can peel this all back. Take all your moving averages off and see the market. Utterly fascinating by this this app. But you can, all along the way here you can see this stuff. The top, bottom. Pull back. It's computer generated stuff. Is that moving average helping you? The first thing I thought when I saw this is proof and positive that moving averages are just going to make you lose your mind. Imagine the amount of people that have been institutionalized and talking to themselves, walking in circles because they try to trade the moving average. This is proof positive that it's a ridiculous approach to trading. Oh, here it's like very tight moving averages. Maybe there it works, but you still need to see the closing prices there. Just this, I could sit here all day playing with that. So that's just utterly fascinating to me. And here's almost like an estimated extrapolation of the future with these moving averages, like where it could go, right? Estimating the trajectory here, you cross over into the field. Well, it could go down here. See, I was right. Not to mention the whole right and wrong thing of life. Let me see, max this out. Here you peel back the moving averages, and here because you don't know what's going to happen, and at some point here they sync up, and you're like, oh yeah, right there, and then you're like, wait a minute, but this is too much fun. Here's the long term. Here's the 100 pair moving averages, and here comes some of these big ridiculous. Oh, crossed over here. I sold. Oh, did you now? Oh, okay. That's why you need the. Here's for the option traders. Here's the can't pronounce this stuff. The Bermudan option with long staff shorts. Monte Carlo though. I did some Monte Carlo research. Very fascinating. That has to do with betting, and this is the strike price. Right above and below. Maybe that's your limit order. Here's the initial stock prices. Here's the volatility. Now, this is something to consider. Never much spoken about. People, this is where you're getting stopped out. And here's the rate of interest. Kind of a slight trend and number of paths. This is critical. This is when you're trading too many currencies at once. See, just one path. And people like the market to be like this. Low volatility. Don't stop me out, man. I'm in a big position. And this is the problem, trying to ride a big position. That's where all the money's at, right? Here's a reverting to the mean reverting random walks. How many months? The mean start. The standard deviation annually. Volatility. This could be a problem, right? Trend traders want this. What does a trend trader want to see? He wants to see this, but what does he see sometimes? He sees the horrifying reality of this. Let me see if I can stretch that out. It's such a pretty situation there. That's pretty. He does pretty charts. Oh gosh, I didn't realize there was a window within the window here. Trying to get the dramatic effect here. That is really, and here's the annual trend. So the trend's your friend. You can see the pullbacks in there, just brutal. And try to ride this, try to ride that trade. Look at standard deviation, set up a really bad trading scenario. Got a trade for that? Got a trade plan for that? I built a robot based on this random walk stuff here. This is a little bit. Oh God, thank God. So this is the weekly time frame, right? These are all the different currency pairs. Here's the rate. But nobody wants to see the. Nobody really wants to have. Of course, you're going to make money from the volatility if it's in your favor. This is what everybody wants to see, so they can trade it. And that's like the moving average. It's not the real world. And there's the down scenario. This is how the bears would view it. Very very fascinating tool. Just to train your brain to randomness, and that it does really exist. And here's another mathematician, Markov, random walks. You have your seed, volatility base. Now this is a real prime example of volatility issues, and it's just pretty. Here's a chance, and if the chance is low, the length and the strength. How many steps? I think this is where you're going to go to the larger time frame. Oh yeah, let's just trade this here. That's the easy piece. Right here, I'm going to just go with this. It's a couple steps, and give me some chance. I don't know how to get that to give some dimension to it, but I'm sorry, here's the base volatility. So what we really want to see, what we're kind of trained to, like candy, we want to see something like this, where we have volatility, but we don't have a lot of stops. You can start to see the top-bottom thing. I can't get enough dimension out of that. Maybe I don't have enough chance in there. Oh, the strength probably isn't enough. In the left here, you can have, this is like pip range here on the left, the strength. This is the only one actually I could find where I could see building a trade plan. Now you could build trade plans off of this just to get, if this is pips on the left, imagine the length is funny because it's actually like volatility. But guys, I'm including more stuff. And that's, let's go to the charts. And now, so you kind of train your brain. You have to like do like a little mental prime yourself. So now we're going to go to the infamous raw data of the real world, step into the real world, and hopefully this template's going to be readable. Now I got all these currency pairs, and these are the weekly charts. And I have line chart on top of the candles, and I have a non-directional candle because black candles matter. And I just want to make my argument against the candles here, because I tried to take the ambiguity out of these. I try to take some of the distracting, oh God, what do you call it? You know, you've heard of this bull bear candle stuff. Look, it's a bullish candle. Look, it's a bearish candle. Do you really need the color to tell you it's going? Well, since I took out the color of the candle, the line chart's going to tell me whether it's going up or down. Because since I trade off the structure, the 1 minute chart, I don't want the candle to flash red and green, because I can already see it went up. Because this is what I kind of find to be childish when I see people do presentations. It going up, it went down. Look, we have a bullish candle. It means the bulls are in charge. I mean, wow. Duh. And besides, there's even not any trade plans on these guys' sites. I mean, these guys think selling these courses, for God's sake. It's a weekly. This is the month. This is the beginning of the year. So here, you have the classic top become a bottom, right? So we've all primed our brain on those other things. You have buy limits here. You have a buy stop here. Now, what in God's green earth can you do with these candles? Nothing. Now, you can't see it very good here because MetaTrader's, but the wicks actually climax here. For you not to get stopped out of this trade, you had to have a stop here for this entry. In here, even if you got in here, they just stopped you out. It's kind of hard to see here, actually. But I can see them. I'm marking them off. Trust me. There's wicks down here. And that's why I put the bar on top. And this is the another problem I had. This is the most zoomed in on MetaTrader you can get, and the wicks are that small. It's a big problem. You had to have a buy limit here. Sure, you bought on a stop here. But this is the real world. And now that the wicks are here, the cavalry's here. And there is still... This is the throwback. This is the, you're going to jump the creek, but you have the throwback. But the throwback is a wick you cannot see on this weekly chart. But you can see it if you're on the line chart. And of course, as you're walking down, you can see that trade here. Maybe you got a buy stop here and a protection here. You're not even involved in this drama down here because you're not trying to nitpick this thing, and not to mention it's the weekly chart, right? You have a buy limit here. You don't know if this is going to keep going down. You don't care. You bought on limits here and you dump here. You can't buy here based on a MACD and a Gartley pattern thinking, well, this is the X leg it's going to go. We all hope it's going to do that. Especially if you're rooting for that team if you're long. And I could go through every one of these charts and you can do it. It's like a magic trick. Trading on principles and concepts is like a magic trick. After living in a world, being raised in a world of complete nonsense and traditional, I like when people say, well, we do that out of tradition. It's just like when some bozo here in California said, we're going to raise minimum wage, not because it's the right thing, because it feels good. Yeah. And this feel good trading with the it feels good to have a harmonic scanner. Do you have one? No, I've just got one I just got like a just got a ugly girlfriend. And God, hopefully she's not watching. Hopefully she has a sense of humor. Here's another thing to consider. How to read a price chart. You've heard that nonsense from the guys over in Power Trading. I would say the first thing is don't look back too far. You don't want to see all the bad relationships. Don't go like this, for God's sakes. And don't do this thing like, well, this has been previous. Okay, but you're living here. Right? You're living right here. And this is the weekly chart. So let's not, this could keep falling down. And there's the trend line. So now this is a weekly chart. Now it could be any time frame. Of course, the weekly chart, you get to risk quite a chunk of money. This is the trend line to break. That's not based on wicks. It's based on price over time. If you want to build a time channel, you're looking for this thing to get to here by there. Where's the uptrend line? Here, and then I'll get into, you can see the trades now. If you turn off the, so this is the wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Which is easier to trade? Where's the real structure of this market? So anybody that's new to trading, anybody wants to be able to read a price chart, let's first mark off the peaks and valleys. So what do we know that's a valley, and where do you see a peak? And I swear to God, if you can't see this top, and do you really need a green candle to just feel like I'm in kindergarten with that stuff? Weekly thing here. So I said in that one video, I said sell up here, but now mind you, this is a weekly. There's plenty of chances to unboard that train and take something off the table. Now, if you drop down to the daily and not zoom out, but just go to the daily, What do you notice here as far as how much work you have to do every month on this? Okay, so you have a line here. You're going to sell there on a limit. That's the first trade you know is a high probability psychological pivot, because we're going to go with the premise that the cause and effect for that is that just the Wyckoff walk down, this is going to be the top bottom. And inside there's a distribution phase at the top of this, and people say drop down to the smaller time frame and get in on this distribution phase, or where we accumulate down here, distribute up here. Problem there is that as soon as you drop down to that phase, why don't you just trade that? Now, this is the problem. You drop down to the smaller fractal. Why not trade that now? Now you have to flip your trading plan upside down. Now you're not a trend trader. You're not trading this from... So when you go to that smaller time frame, you just blew up the whole idea of the trend that you're in right now. And so how do you know you're in a downtrend? Because you can draw a downtrend line the way you frame the market. So how to read a price chart? You're stuck with what you see. You see the double top. You see where the sell limits would be for the retest sells. The first indication you have a true trend in force, price over time. You extrapolate this out. People are going to sell here. This is the perfect setup where everything comes together, and it doesn't always happen like this. And maybe you're going to sell, you have sell limits here. So you know this part exists. And this is the, and if you are trading Gartleys, you can see, hopefully without that ridiculous fixed Gartley, the problem is people too much importance on the precision. I used to think myself, everybody does, right? Everybody thinks that, I remember when I was a kid, when we were young kids, and people talk about girls, and they'd always rattle off these dimensions. I think it was 36, 24, 30. There's some kind of like, in other words, the size of the girl's rack, or the width of her chest, her waist and her hips. Those were the three dimensions that everybody paid attention to. But those numbers, I mean, if the chick was hot, you didn't break out your fib tool and see if she was proportioned. I remember Tony Robbins did a video on plastic surgery, and he said that these plastic surgeons design faces because that little indentation, the way your face is set up, if you compose it in a certain way, there's a kind of an attraction, an idealistic thing that people attracted to. So I get the attraction. People love that Gartley and that stuff. They do love that certain girl with certain genes. Without overcomplicating, you would just naturally, this low exists, so if you're a retest buyer, you're forced to buy here, whether you like it or not. Here you're selling up in here. And here is, you're not waiting for the trend line necessarily, and this is another thing that, if you have a very strict rule set, it can be very difficult. A lot of people, they've filtered their trading down to such a narrow range that until they get this perfect setup, and of course, that can be overanalyzing, but you're never going to get used to get some psychological calluses about trading that you need to have this kind of tough, take a leap of faith thing. There's no certainty, and there's no confirmation. You just have to place those orders and let the market prove you right. Once again, here's a hidden, now this probably could fail, but see the bottom become a top here? And I think this could fail. This is the dollar yen on the daily, by the way. So the sellers are supposed to come in here, and we're supposed to continue and go through the floor. But what happens is next week, and this is the daily this month, we trap in here. The breakout traders are trapped. There's no follow through, and they spook out. They freak out. They got to buy back. Then we come up here, and this comes up, and lo and behold, it comes back to this top. And then we kind of weasel our way into this. Now, this could be a large accumulation phase and a bigger uptrend. And then we break the trend line, and we are on our way. Now, the conservative, very high risk, right, to put a buy stop here, kind of ridiculous because they've been trapped. This is kind of the swing traders window, because swing trading is just range trading in you're swing trading a tight zone. There's a swing within the swing, and so that's. But there's no way around the fact that you're going to have multiple strategies and tactics coexisting all on the chart at the same time. And of course, you can always rearrange these based on current market conditions. So if that doesn't happen, if you see that the market's dropping down here, you're certainly going to have to cancel these buy stops up here because now they don't make sense. The market's constantly evolving. These are going to be worthless and probably never fill. And if they do fill, you should be spending your time trading down where the market's currently at. So here's where the market's at right now. What do you do? So, and this is always, the market's always flirting with this zone. And if you went long here and you're slightly down, you're like, oh my God, maybe it's going to, that is, the workaround for that is to be scalping on some smaller time frame. And so I was on this demo, I scalped around. Another reason why that account got hit is I scalped around a position I was in. So I was long from, I was in the euro and I was long from, say here. I went long here, and then I scalped all the way up here. I was scalping around it, and I was completely looking. Expectation was we were going to finally break out. There may be 3 or 4 retests here, so it didn't break out. And then, so I didn't cash out of this. I was adding to the position, or just kind of padding it along scalps and looking for one crescendo here. And definitely was going to bail here. I mean, exit was very close, but we just melted back down to the starting gate and actually came through and almost cleared out my, I think I barely retained some of the original position here. So are you a scalper or are you a swing trader? Now, if you are this trader here, you had to know the exit door was here, but this is why commingling, you probably going to want to have a scalping account that has a tight spread, and you scalp on that broker. You have the same instrument. I trade the euro dollar across many brokers in many time frames, so I always know what time it is. That's what my dad told me. Trade one instrument, you always know what time it is. People that trade IBM stock, they're in a relationship there, but as soon as they go to the 5-minute chart, it's a different relationship, and they have a scalp plan on a different broker. So you're swing trading, right? You're locked into a small position here on the swing trade, and you know what? At the end of the week, maybe you dump out, or maybe you do get stopped out of that. But you've been scalping on the other broker, and you've been making money. And you get another broker, and this one you trade a different currency, and maybe you have the discipline. I don't to have a pen. I have to go check and see how that order's doing. Now that's going to pull you away from, if you have a limited amount of time, we all do, right? We're all going to croak. Such a wonderful thought that humans are aware of their own expiration. I saw that on a trading book once. I never got so depressed. I opened up this one trading book, and he has got this thing he calls it the life of a stock. And he goes, well, here you have accumulation, and here's the a romantic phase, then consolidation. We'd go on our second honeymoon, but then it dies and it comes back. Now the distribution is you give the money to your next generation of your kids, and then you die. And I thought, oh, isn't that sad? I was actually the first. I've never been so emotional about somebody explaining the life cycle of a stock. The life cycle. I mean, I thought to myself, there's cycles for you. It's sad. Very sad. So go to the forward chart. A little tough sledding on the closing prices because not everybody sees the same forward chart. We'll go to the 1 hour chart. And without getting too how would analyze this chart? Uptrend, obviously. And so you could have actually found this price by marking off these highs. So if you're a channel trader, and channel trading is completely a valid thing because there's a top and a bottom range to the channel, right? So say you know these prices exist. If you copy this over, you can see where we can come back to. We're also coming back to the top inside the bottom there. And of course here, wow, go figure, right? So if you have a buy limit here knowing that this exists, and you also aware of the fact that once you start to go to new lows, you want to buy low. And what I like to do is build a position from here, buy limits, buy limits, buy limits. Definitely have a buy limit here. And even have buy limits here that don't fill. Now, I'm going to go on this one. I'm going to do the wax on, wax off, because you want to check this theory. And you also have the, well, there's just there's so much going on here. Here's a failed top bottom. If you take a look here at the, this top bottom, trend continuation. Don't forget, everybody up to this point has a trend line that looks like this. Is why you have to redraw the trend lines. But look at the break of trend line, come back, fail into that. Now you can see that in the rollover. This is a distribution phase. Comes back, and people buy. And this is especially a fast move like this. I'm definitely onto that. When I first see that move, I'm just like, oh, I got my finger. I'm already cleaning my guns and buying bullets because I can see exactly what I want to do because I missed this move. This is 1 hour chart. We fell out of bed here. And this is Asia session. This is the beginning of Asia. Falls out of bed, but buy limits. Buy limits here. Buy limits here. I grab this whole thing. Oh, sorry, my video's gone so long that I'm choked the computer. It's run out of RAM there. Buy limit here, here. We have to wait for the computer to catch up. Here, here, all the way down. And so I lock in this. I'm not crazy about a buy stop up here. This is the only pullback entry here. Now, you had to realize something was getting a little bit too... It's the end of the day, too. So, in the Wyckoff theory, you would see distribution coming in at the top there. People are unloading for the day, unwinding their positions. And it's not a perfect... In the Wyckoff theory, it looks like a perfect idealistic distribution. But this is an ascending triangle failure distribution, whatever you want to call it, right? But you know it's going sideways. And you could have also sold on stops. You have pending sell stops the whole time that's marching up. And maybe you do have sell limits at the top. This is why it's so confusing to try to explain it, because you literally have to wear 3 hats. You have to be aware of what time it is. At the end of the hour, you buy. You buy because you're already bought here by default because you had buy limits here. I'm from Canada. And you're cashing out here, obviously, on something. Because what if this is the top? And eventually it is later on. But that doesn't matter. Because in 2 hours, 3 hours, you just cleaned up on a high probability trade. Now here's another top bottom. And you don't want to put too much data on the screen because you're going to miss the subtlety. This is the top, becomes a bottom. Okay, great, look at that. Another top becomes a bottom. Oh, look at that, we're going up. Now this is clearly a distribution phase that is idealistic. And this is running out of gas. And people are concerned that this is the vacuum that's forming. And the counter trend traders made money on this because in the bigger trend we still have, right, if this is, 0, and this is wave 1, and this is, 2, and this is 3, nonsense. Then what else is on this chart is where is the bottom inside the top? course, this would all occur to you if you just marked off every peak and valley. But the last thing you want to do is put too much data on these screens. Because right now, I'm in maximum zoom in. You can't zoom in more than this. This is the daily chart. For a ricochet, this is for scalping, I would say, because this bottom inside the top right here comes over here. Now I'm going to turn the wicks on. Let's see if I get filled on that. And sure enough, you got filled on a sell limit here. Now this is the bar chart. There's the ridiculous candles. I have a big problem with candles because it's such a dramatic movement. Imagine that's a green candle. Oh, look at that thing. Confirmation. Hey, everybody. And look at this. Oh, we're going down. So what? Are you buying into that? Now, if you bought into that, obviously the trend line break. But you see how the candle body is sitting into this thing, and you see how the wick, if you drew these trend lines in a wick, so you see this wick up here? Now don't forget the news came out, and there was big news with NFP. But isn't it funny how the line chart on closing prices has nothing to do... Now, you can see here that if you sold up here, just before the news, on distribution phase, they smacked you in the face here. Go to the bar chart. This is why, if anything, the bar chart. Go back to the bar chart, people. This is what a stop bot sees. It sees highs and lows. It's really not showing up too good on here, is it? Yeah, I don't want to put the bar in there because I wanted to be able to go wax on, wax off kind of thing. I'll use the zoom in skills here if we haven't killed them yet on the system. Okay, I think I've definitely taken this computer to the limit. I'm 2 hours and 26 minutes in, but so I might have overshot the wrong way. It's going to keep zooming on me. But you can see it here, right? This big wick here would have trounced your entry, but maybe you got in on stops here, but I'm going to tell you right now that I know what happened during the day there, and it actually whipsawed around there. So another method is, high-risk method, is to put a buy stop trailing here. Now, here, the low ATR, right? I don't know what the pips are. This grid is from MetaTrader. This is your entry. This is a low-risk entry where things simmer down now. And if you got in here, your exit needs to be, you got to exit on something up into here. And look at this. So here's the structure. Here's the fill. Even though it doesn't look like you got filled on the line chart, but you definitely got filled on your sell limits and whatever have you that is up that. It's also why you want sell limits in a zipper, in a scale thing. You set this all up, not on this one, because you'd have to zoom out to find the trades for people that have day jobs. Maybe this is a 4-hour chart. Obviously, buy limits down here and buy and pullbacks, but not on the... So I'm not going to put a buy stop here to go long because it's a terrible price. I'm going to buy every hour it pulls back. So I buy here, I put a limit here, and I scale in. No sense in putting a buy stop here if you're going to trade on the clock and just buy at the market. Maybe do a buy stop there. But you don't want to get too long if it's not going to prove you right. And you don't know if it is. It's the 1 hour. If the markets were open right now, I'd just buy here at the market. And maybe your stops here. Buy a limit. And your stops here. And you're going to build into this, and you're going to dump, especially if they pull this back all the way in here and this becomes a losing trade. You're going to have to make a money management call there, because you're going to have to dump as you come back to this, because what if it's going to do this, but you're going to buy more? You're like fishing. You're going to have to lay a bunch of fish line out there, and the first bite you get is the scalp, and the second one is going to be the right. So the early bird gets the worm, and the second mouse gets the cheese. The second mouse is going to buy the retest, but the early bird's going to get in here, and maybe you're right. Early bird gets the worm, and the second mouse gets the cheese because you got stopped out. The first mouse lost his neck in the trap. So this is, you can go through every chart like this. Now, the idea is that you can have a quick and dirty principled approach to analyzing the markets at a glance. This is at a glance trading. You don't need a fib tool. The market is its own fib tool. And once again, there's a ideal setup here. If you extend all these into the future, I'm not here, but you should extend all these into the future, that this bottom becomes a top, and it's also on this. There's a lot of reasons to trade. Now, it doesn't mean that this is going to go to hell now. The trade's over. Some of that's the factor that you got to get out of something. Because if you just bank on one trade at a time, you're going to get clobbered in these markets, in any market. I go to the 4-hour chart. Now, if you had a day job, if you weren't babysitting these markets, here's the 4-hour. Downtrend, right? So it breaks it, and we kind of ride along this, and with the theory of break back, find support. Believe it or not, it was a winning trade. Now, with the wicks on, with the bars on, and thank God there's no candles on here, so I'm starting to really, now I'm not saying this is for everybody, and I'm not saying that, of course, I'm not selling anything, so I don't really care. I'm just trying to rattle people's cages to the fact that they've been, and I'm going to do another video about the whole core, how we got here. But this is just about how to trade this stuff, because a lot of people want to make some money next week. And they want to have certainty of, you need to put a buy limit here for a scalp to here with a stop here. Obviously, right? Now, this is a theoretical thing. Breakout, find support, go long. Guess what? That trade worked out. This market's very binary. It's going up and down. Or it's very, if you can trade it from both directions, on one instrument, you'll make more money than jumping around to different instruments going, oh, look at this pattern over here on the Australia versus the yen. When I see that, I think to myself, and this is, of course, coming back to the fact that all markets are the same, all people are the same. So if you was one, say you got this really hot girl that you're going to marry. So you marry this instrument. Now you just trade this one instrument, but not that you don't trade it from the different time frames and you don't buy and sell that thing. And this is where I think it's hard, because you're basically saying, I have this girl I'm married to, but I'm going to, of course they say makeup sex is the best. But you're going to break up with her and get back together with her. But in your mind, it's happily ever after. It's not argue, make up, sex, argue. But people live for that. So, and if you take that into trading, it means win and lose. Right? You can't have skin in the game. You basically can't do the makeup part without skin. And the thing is that people live for that drama. And you can play it out in the market, especially if you have a day job, you can afford to lose money in the market. And but building up an account, I guess it's a self-esteem issue. People with low self-esteem, like myself, are just not really feeling too. It's odd, because if you could just make a decision and make money, to me it seems completely antithetical, because I think hard work is how you make money. At least how I made money before trading was creating crowns and bridges for people's mouths. So the robots have destroyed my business, plus the so I don't do a lot of that anymore, but I've always been trading for years, and so I have to go, not have to, but I'm trading more. So I thought, well, I'll do videos and kind of try to debunk all the stuff, because I'm everybody's learning. I'm learning. I'm curious as all day long. I'm curious as to why people are. Some people are marketing and selling a service, but I'm befuddled by the crude, cliche and tacky presentations. Not that mine's any better. Oh, Christ, I'm swearing so hard on these videos. I feel like a little bit too emotional, sensitive person. But I do care about. I do want to save somebody from. I wanted to just point out the fact that if there's nothing wrong with hand holding, right? Trading coach. It'd be different if Empowered Trading was strictly a trading coach, and there are trading coaches out there. There's a girl. I put some of the, these psychological things. Like I went to Mark Douglas. I spent $900 for 3 days with Mark Douglas in Chicago, and I got to actually ask him point blank. There's people in the audience asking the classic questions like, "Well, where do I get on the market?" I mean, but he was kind of teaching you that his core thing is that you can pull the trigger and be a winning trade and not even know. You can make money without knowing anything, just by random. You got into a trade, you're making money. But to see the big picture, and not to be to accept that it's random. And I think in accepting that it's random, you have to have contingency orders. You have to have backup plans. This is how people survive. If that doesn't work, you can't just have. I actually have my backup plan here is always trade with stops. So if my power goes off, if the grid goes down, I don't have open positions, and I also have time decays on my orders. So the big freak out when we were trading years ago is you had battery backup for your thing, because what if the market goes down? You can't call your broker. You're in a naked position with no stop. So I see people trade without stops. I'm thinking, but you're betting, and this is a bet. Talk about gambling. They're betting that their broker's not going to have a problem. The power's going to be on. And even if you have a power backup, what if your broker just freezes? And if you have stops in there, you don't care. Now you might get stopped out. But if the news comes out, if your computer goes down and you got open positions, and I traded through the news, and mind you, this demo, I traded through every news event on that thing. In fact, that was it. It's a $2 million position when the NFP came out. But it was already down like $4,000 from my peak moment of the distribution, top of the market. So anyways, this is the 4-hour chart, and here you can see if you have a day job, and just based on the structure alone, you have to have a buy limit here, and you have to have buy limits on this wick all the way down. And you waited all week to get filled on this trade, mind you. And some of these you got stopped out of, don't forget. But without regard to anything other than you're going to buy a retest of this, but it overshoots, but you don't care. And if you are not dismayed by that, then you ride it to here saying you get out here at the last known. And even this trade here was a winning trade, feeding off of this trend line. Here not so much, and here capitulation, total failure of that, but it's still in a downtrend. And the moving average is floating. The problem is that moving average is trying to adapt to current price. And I know Alexander Elder, I have his videos, and I have all this stuff. You got to believe me when I say I studied all that stuff, and it's just a lot of suppositions are made. He uses an exponential moving average because he says it's updating the current thing, but I actually was using linear weighted moving averages because they were more emotional. If you're using moving averages, the linear weighted moving average has it's actually hugging the price. In my opinion, hugs the price better, but nothing hugs like a trend line, right? Nothing exceeds like excess. You know, the old classic, my little friend. But here's the other trend line. Now you had to hand draw that one. And here's the breakout pullback to here. What does that mean for, well, typically for order placement, I've already got, based on buying new lows, which I always say in my videos, and people say, oh, it's just so simple, how could it be that easy? But you have to kind of see this coming out. You'd be buying down here for several reasons. You'd be buying on a retest of this, and maybe you didn't get filled. You'd also be buying because they just took out this bar, this wick, and they just filled that little bit. And then you got this move, and then of course you could trade off of that. You can't see it here, but on the 1 hour you could see the the ricochet off of that. But of course that's why I say the wicks are actually the 1 hour chart, because on the 1 hour chart there is a bottom in here. So I'm not going to bore you to death. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, but hopefully that's a little bit better than the Inner Circle guy just going on about politics and nonsense. Of course, I must have even worse tangential thinking capabilities. Now, if I zoom out, this is the problem I have with too much data on the screen, is that this is all your past relationships here. And of course, on the 4 hour chart here, you can see that in just one increment look back, that this here is going to be a place to buy again. And sure enough, it was. But now, look at this wick. This is why you have to commit to buying an area. And, Jesus, not on here. Okay, so the rectangle isn't on here. We'll have to add it. Let me just do a quick customize. Go to your rectangle and pull this out of the bag and put it on your favorites list. And insert there. And, of course, the color is going to be awful when you bring it up. But, yeah, it's in your face blue. But that's your order bank, your bin. And, oh, that's fucked up. Can't delete that. Can't click on it and capture the center of that because I got the line on top of that. So here's your trusty order bank entry. Now you start buying definitely at close, and you love to buy these new lows here, and you're gonna have to commit to this whole area. Now you may have stopped out of stuff, but how'd that trade work out? This is completely lughead trading. Now this is the 4 hour chart, mind you. So where are you gonna buy for a bounce again next week? You're going to buy here again. This goes on forever. You just keep putting the orders back. It just seems retarded, right? You put the orders in there, and buy. It's going to buy again if that pulls back. And maybe it's just a scalp. And where was the sell banks at? Keep re-entering the sell banks. Here's the top. Here's the bottom become a top. Right there. Isn't that obvious? And the wicks are, you're selling up all the way into that. You have to sell a whole area there, especially the 4 hour chart. And it just shouldn't be that complicated. So let me go to the broad view here. Now, based on that theory, you can see how easy it is to rifle through these charts. Okay, whatever. You could trend line first, or you could do top bottom thing. Here's the triangle breakout, right? Here's the old classic. No need to go to another currency pair. Here's the top inside the bottom entry. Obviously, this is ripe for a sell-off. Not to say we can't keep going up. The air's getting thin up there, as they say. This is the top that needs to become a bottom. On the weekly, they're going to buy at that. Nice thing about the line chart, too, is that look at how the line chart keeps... See the wicks? Who's thinking... That's why it's just mind-blowing to watch these people. They can't figure this stuff out. Now, going back to I'm kind of almost lost in my mind the idealistic charts I showed you before, tops become bottoms. But they don't always... they don't always become... this is just another currency pair. Look, double bottom, right, pins top. But not forever. And go to the next pair. You just do quick. This is redneck analysis. Come on. They're all doing the same thing, though. They're all doing the same thing. All the girls need to go home and find their cell phone. Here, triple bottom becomes a top rollover breakdown. You're not going to see that on the wicks. This is what a wick trader trend line guy sees. Oh, I don't see what's going on here. Yeah, dude, because the wick, that's a weekly chart. Dude, the wick is a daily setup. Think about it. It's my tequila buddy. Cracks me up. When he tells me conspiracy theories, think about it, man. And this one, I did that whole video on that. Now, the big downtrend here, right? This is the trend line to break. Well, we break it way out in here. So I'm not going to wait for that breakout. This is why I'm buying the first breakout is down here. This triple bottom becomes breakout, pull back to this. This is the Beaver Dam theory. You keep drawing this. Now here's the breakout, pull back to this one. Now this is hand-built rollover. I already debunked the moving average thing. See, the handbrake rollover is much more precise and much more work, right? So it goes through this thing. I wish I could have indicated to draw that on close, man. Here we're flagging out, right? New downtrend. Or is this just a reaccumulation for another markup? And where are we going to buy? How about here? Because of this monster pivot. All pivots get an order. Everything gets an order. If you want to throw a fib order on there, but you can't just have one order, people. Yeah, of course the fib tool. Let me see if fib tool is actually hooked up here. Just to no, I actually made my own custom fib tool. But it's just, you can see that you'd want to. But how many setups are you going to get out of a stupid fib tool? You got to be trading this stuff. Can't wait for these setups. Here's the infamous British pound against the yen. Come on, you don't need Fibonacci for this, do you? What's the last top become a bottom here? Where does your pending order go? Weekly chart. It's not complicated. People want to make this so complicated because they want to just impress people. Like, well, you know what? I am a technical analyst. I guess I am too, right? I'm just a trendline analyst. You know, channel trading and pitchfork trading is, you can look that up. Great, because the pitchfork gives you the middle. See, this is the rollover pivot. Notice the respect for the trend line. I love that. I can't get no respect. Rodney Dangerfield trading. Here's the pitchfork. Anybody see that rollover in there? We pivot around that. You can't have that a moving average. Gee, it broke out. Now, you really want to buy this trap down here. That's why I see you buy new lows. Your buy limits start here. They trap the bulls, this accumulation underneath the, then you jump the creek and all that nonsense. Next chart. Same story, different week. Now, this is why I don't really believe in this Australia against the pound. What's the difference? You know, you can only have one psycho babe at a time. This is supposed to be the big breakout pullback. Didn't work. Another complete failure, but I would say without the trend line analysis is kind of advanced. Just go with top-bottom theory. Bottom becomes a top, a little overshoot the runway here, but this is coming up into what? The last known. Don't forget, the last known is more important than the old one. The last known top-bottom is right there. This bottom here, this doji. And you can see the dojis here, right? So you know, I'm kind of ignoring the candles there. You don't need a red candle to tell you that the market's going down if you're using this method technique, principle of closing prices, override everything that you know. And here horizontal price view is double bottom, becomes a top later on. A double bottom here is you buy off of that, and this is weekly, don't forget. So you buy off of that just because. I need a breaker. I need a baker. Just because. And here you double bottom, right? So you buy this. You don't know if it's going to keep going, but you buy that bottom because you see the other bottom. Just like this one, you got stopped out. So what? Are you seriously going to tell me? Now, there's less trading on here because it's a line chart. Gee, do you sell this top? It's resistance. Now here's where you could get. Now this looks like it is going to go to hell. Now here's the, you buy this one, weekly chart mount, you buy that, and eventually you're right. That's how people are getting stopped out. But you got to commit to a zone. Here you buy here again. Not so good. Breakout, but look at where it, I'm going to stretch the scale in here, but look at how this thing weaves itself around the previous last known top bottom. It has nothing to do with looking back. We don't need to look back 20 years here. We're living in the moment. Don't forget, you cannot trade the left side of the chart. Was this a good place to buy without regard? Now, continually here after this first, see all these wicks? Beautiful. Scalp, buying fresh lows here. I say buy fresh lows beyond the wick. So I don't know if anybody's wondering. You can call me on Skype to explain it to you. I could do live videos, but you really have to put the orders in there. Scary as it may be, based on closing prices. Now see how the candles don't give you a clue to structure here. This is supposed to be where the sellers come in. They don't. And they weasel this thing all the way up to here. To this last known a turning point price. Distribution kicks in. Killer winning trade. But if you don't get out here where you're supposed to get out, you give it all back and it comes up into this floor and we go the other way. So it's very up and down. Markets go up and down. Next item up for bid is the Australia CAD. You're just looking into, if you got enough money to trade all these currencies, by all means, right? How to read a price chart. Here's your top. Does it become a bottom? Yes. Next question. And we went through that one. Euro dollar. This bottom, is this support? Absolutely not. They crushed through that, so you're going to stop out there. Can you think in terms of what a seller, the guy that bought this double bottom, where does he have to get out here? And look at this wick here. It crushes all the way up into here. The, you can't see it, the bars, but, and so yeah, you're going to get stopped out. But realize that there is a double top up here that you should have a sell limit here. So there are a lot of order management. It's all order management. You're not going to make any money analyzing markets. I don't want to break your heart, but Gartley pattern is not going to, or getting the perfect fib ratios and fine tuning that. You only make money when you get in and out of a trade. Now, you could win a lot of points from your friends and family making market calls, and then you become an analyst. And there's a reason for that, because when I started trading, I thought I'm really good at analyzing the market. But when I put the trade on, I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. This is kind of an expensive. And then back then, I just traded single orders because I couldn't put on. I didn't have a margin. I mean, you need like psycho margin. You need to have $3,000 in your account to trade. You need $1,500 in your account, I think, to trade one contract of soybeans, 5,000 bushels. Now, you made some decent money off those trades, but man, you talk about. Now, you can step into Forex with $100 or $200, and you can build it up to $1,000 every month. You can take $200 and build that up to like 1,000 in a month. You should be able to. And now, if you overtrade it, of course, there's a lot of pitfalls there, but that's a whole nother story. Are you cut out for uncertainty? How do you feel about uncertainty? And are you willing to put a sell order here, even if you're wrong, to scalp off of that? And of course, here, it was the perfect entry. If you look here, well, you may not have got filled there. Gosh, that would have been a heartbreaker. To not get filled right at the edge of that, right? But that would have been the mind-blowing weekly. Of course, on the weekly, it's a weekly chart. It doesn't matter what time frame. Of course, the weeklies are kind of a idealistic version of, because I don't think most people have the patience. Here's the top-bottom uptrend. And of course, there's also these little micro trends inside of the bigger trend. top bottom here, and you've got the this trend line here, and you could say that's a rollover. Here's the real rollover, right? Breaks, can't get above that, and then just to hold this anchor that. They even call it the anchor price value there. And just keep dragging that down and down. And of course, this channel here, there's a channel. There's so much going on here. You would never want to zoom out like this and try to examine. Now here you can see the Wyckoff theory, kind of, where you're running up, and this is the accumulation thing here going on, and look how insignificant this. Of course, the weekly. In the big picture, how ridiculous that is. Now, the sellers could come in. This is the euro dollar. But it looks like we could weasel up here. And look at all that range trading. And I've shown this a million times in the video. This is a... When you zoom out like this, you can see kind of like Wyckoff's looking at. Here's the redistribution phase with the perfect top bottoms on the weeklies. And holy God. What a move, huh? So this is either all accumulation here, or this is redistribution for another markdown. But who cares? If you can get in here, ride it to fair value, and dump, sell here, and ride it back into fair value and dump. There's the top, bottom, the whole walk up. You can see the whole story on a line chart. So let me just blow through the last of these charts. But you should not have to think about this stuff. It should jump out at you and just kind of train your brain on the on those idealistic patterns, idealistic structures. You know, the perfect building, and then you put the wallpaper in later. That's all the. Is it going to be a limit? Is it going to be a market order? Is it going to be a stop? That's the furniture in the room. Those are the shelves in the room. But you need a framework. You need a house to begin with. And I'm saying these candlesticks are just complete nonsense. Utterly ridiculous. If you're a stop entry trader, they're disturbing. Who cares what the opening price is? The problem with candles is they have an opening price. And you can see when you put the candles on here how stupid it is. I mean, it's redundant. All you have to do is turn, if you don't believe me, run 2 moving averages, one on open and one on close, and you'll have double vision. So it's double vision. You don't need it. It opened here. Well, if you weren't there for the open, and it closed down, you know it's a red candle, plus red on the screen there. Computer screens never look good. It vibrates, and I've got I wear glasses, so I have real chromatic shift issues with red. The red-green stuff. I can't. That's why I go for these really kind of mundane charts. So I want something that doesn't have bad frequency vibrations. It's not a tinfoil hat thing. It's just the chromatic shift, and just the nature of red. The first time I saw it on CTR, I'm like, well, that's not going to work. It's vibrating. Maybe it's just because I wear glasses. But well, here's a crazy move up. Who can see that coming? So I talked about that with my signal service. I'm just joking. Don't have one. But what was this trade based on? This is a retest of this. You can buy there. Now, if you put the trend line out, so where are you going to sell? Where are you going to cash out? Even if you bought down here, what do you cash out? Here, even though it keeps screaming north. And here's defying all of the, this thing is really, the dollars, it looks like the Australian dollar, because Trump said about Australia, now they're going to kick the dollar's ass. What a silly fundamental reason. Here's the trend line. Triple touch, trend line break. You could expect if you wanted to Gartlify that, you could sell up in there. But you're going to sell up there just because it's high. Right? Here's the wicks. So there's a big scalping range coming in. There's a big scalp play coming into this thing. Obviously, next week, right? Look at the daily. Daily is going to look like a 5-minute chart. So where was the walk up here? Here's the last, this killer top bottom way back here. I mean, this, I think I talked about this trade. I don't know where we were on this chart before. If you're still holding this, man, you got the patience of the church lady. But you can see that the top bottom theory here played out. You have a buy limit here. The wick filled you. I got to turn these stupid wicks off. They're driving me crazy. Buy limit here, and they filled you. So you have to, here's a buy limit. They filled you. And here you got to be a little suspicious. You don't usually get too many of these perfect entries in a row before we start to get a little in the distribution phase, but it fails. The we distribute here, nothing happens, and it pulls back to the last known. Of course, we all aware of the fact that we broke out here, so we're looking for the pullback here. We get this perfect entry, this perfect daily. Here's where you want to buy in pullbacks, obviously. The high-risk traders have their buy stops trailing, and they kind of set and forget. Of course, if you really want to go super mechanical trading, where you can't continually watch this market, and it's kind of hard not to see how it's going, right? Because you kind of have this, hey, I wonder what she's doing now. Maybe she's getting ready to come over the house. So buy stops here, and then eventually filled. But mind you, you've got buy limits here for the trap. You build into that, and we're going into some. This is a beautiful move, but you got to take some off the table there. And here's the top bottom that started the whole thing. This is where you you jump the creek, you pull back top bottom, and this is the accumulation phase. Everything underneath the floor here, and certainly from Wyckoff theory, you can see the accumulation phase is kind of tough if you're really can't wait till this big up move happens, right? This is your dream move. That's the Gartley trade. But like I said, in this was back then, actually. Because I remember the saucer, I said, we're going to fill this cup. We fill this void. We come to the lip of the cup, and guess what? No sellers come in to do this one. Right? It's not gonna be a range trade symmetrical. Broke out pullback. We're sneaking across the border. Don't forget this top. They trap. That's the trap trade, the scalp. Right? You sell them, it's up in new highs for the scalp to the back. It's a lot of maneuvering, a lot of order placement. And here, trendline break. But everybody's seen this stuff, right? You're bored by now. Love the bar chart. Always have, always will. I just love. And then when you zoom out, like we don't need to look at this, right? I mean, this how to read a price chart. Now this is the trend continuation. You go over down the street there. Are you serious, right? Now it's just like, really? What's the trade now? Oh my God! Like, you're killing me. My brain just blew up. What's? Look at this. This is the 4-hour. This is stuff we don't need to know. All you need to know is this. You know, this is why I really, in fact, this will make you impatient. When's this thing going to tank? Maybe this is distribution up here. And if it is, trade distribution and accumulation. You don't have to trade these big, glorious moves. And there's the DAX. And if you're trying to sell the stock market, good luck. So I said at the end of the year, people are going to dump. Guess what? I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not saying they dump. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't right for the end of the year. Now, the end of the year on here, see, I can say, oh, I was right. My newsletter, I said to everybody, sell at the end of the year, yeah. But guess what? They bought it back, and there's Inner Circle Traders said this market's going to crash. I don't even know what to say. He might be right. But I've seen this before. This is devil's staircase all day long on this. And don't forget, you got the I'm totally no offense to anybody that's irrational, but there's nothing. Trump's the greatest thing since sliced bread. A rational mind, a principled person. Oh, what a relief. 8 years of John Dewey. We had 8 years of John Dewey's Marxist, anti-logic, Gartley pattern. Obama reminds me of a guy with a Fibonacci tool trying to central plan the society based on Fibonacci distribution. Redistribution of wealth with a Fibonacci tool. And anybody ready to sell this thing? So I could say in my newsletter, yeah, I said, look, they're going to dump this thing. And right at the end of the year, sell off. But guess what? No follow through. People are buying here again. And if this thing keeps going up, what are people going to do? This is going to go and break history. I don't know if I have the whole history here. So this broker may not have the whole history of the Dow Jones here, but if I zoom out, maybe it's here. No, not so much. Look at this thing. You gonna sell that? That's why they say don't pick tops. But it's all time frame dependent. You could sell right here. You could have sold on the end of the week there. Actually, we actually, this could be the top because see the wick up there. We've climaxed up into the top already. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not. No, this is well, last week. If you go to the daily, you could say, well, this is the top on the wick, right there. But I'd be scared out of my mind right now. If you're in this Dow Jones, right? This is the top inside the bottom. It's clearly seen here, and the limits your buy limits would have filled. And if you by the way, is like a gravestone because I have a white line chart. Will give you a perfect gravestone there. But hell, this is the climax at the end of the year, and or no, it's yeah, that's the end of the year climax. No, that's the end of the month. At the end of the January 1. Right here, this is the sell-off. This is in my newsletter. I don't have. So we didn't get the follow-through here. And if you look at the top bottom, should people buying right here, right? And here's the wedge. Here's the breakout. Reaccumulation. Another markup. Pull back, reaccumulate. What's going to happen? It's going to be something else. And if the dollar goes down, which I think the dollar is going to go down, of course, all this stuff is in this phase of everything's churning. So you can't make predictions like that because you can only make short-term. You can only tell the weather for the next 3 days. They model these weather. And those guys got a lot of... Well, I don't know if people are tuning in to see the most accurate weather. AccuWeather. So, Gartley scanner. Kind of ridiculous because when you look outside and it's raining, you say, it's raining. That's what this is. You're looking at the weather. You didn't build a model to model the weather. And if you back this down to the retest, triple retest, but yikes. This is some kind of crazy psycho. Now you can make the argument that we broke the trend line here and come back there, but like I said, it's multiple. It's always going to be different styles of tickets. Not today. I actually traded at the market a little bit at the end of because I missed my entry. So this is, or I'm trading the clock. So I nearly trade at the market. It's a little psychological in a way of, so think about buy stops just in closing here. If you're going to place a buy stop and the market's walking down, realize that you may get trapped on that trade. And not to mention, you want to have that, you want to have that stop as snug as possible. If you're trying to get picked up in the next follow through momentum, now this is dangerous when the market's losing its velocity and its price pulses are getting quieter and quieter. You're going to get trapped on those trades. And so you have to build around what you're given. For instance, back here, and you can see why it's difficult to build a robot, because this is Dow Jones, but this looks just like any other currency. What do you do about this? If you're constantly trying to get in on a breakout, because it's daily, right? But finally you're right. But you've actually blown up your account trying to board the stop train. This is my argument, is that you need limits at the edge. You need to build your account and pad your account for the day that they trounce you. Now, this is the elections. And there's a wick of doom on here. Actually, this is the wick of hell. You can't see it on here very well. So here's the elections. I think I'm actually bidding that up. I can't tell the actual, but you get it, right? It's like, we remember this, right? Big smash down. Then cut through and blow out the top of that. And quite a move. A little baby top bottom. Daily Dow Jones. And so if you made it this far through the video, and well, I just wanted to try to simplify the markets with principles, and the guy asked me the question, so I guess I went off a little bit long there, but I hope that was something that you can plan for. And I've got the single drop orders there, and I uploaded the platform. I'll put the link again to this Hightail, although I was told by a guy you'll never meet that I should put it on the Google Cloud, but I'm kind of, I don't know about the altitude, and I'm not sure about the atmosphere. I'm afraid that the chemtrails are going to get involved in this Google Drive or this cloud thing, because I've heard about the chemtrails, and I don't know what they're going to corrode some of the scripts I put the platform on there, because I don't know this Hightail. I don't remember log into this Hightail, but I've been using the Hightail because it's free. Because I don't publish enough to, and I'm not running a business, so I don't really want to. I just hate the idea of paying for something when it's free. So the free stuff is the internet knowledge. I was talking to my dad, and he said, you can go to the library, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the library all day long. So there's definitely way more information than need be. And so no offense to anybody that's made $3 million on a Ikamushu cloud or a Renko chart, but I realize that stuff's valid. But even after all that said, even after you do have the holy grail of indicators, you're still going to have to figure how big you're going to trade on that trade, how you're going to manage the, how to pay for the spread and commissions off of one ticket. You have to somehow make money. If it's only from the, I guess they call it swag or something, like the, maybe you're not making money on the big ticket items, but you're selling so many little things that, you're able to keep the lights on. And eventually there's going to be some, one of these just capitalist pig's going to walk in there with a cigar. One of these. I don't know why there's such. In other words, another thing is to keep in mind, in case you're still with me watching this, and you're one of these flaming liberals that has a resentment for people with money, you're probably not going to make too much money trading, because don't forget you subconsciously embedded the fact that money's the root of all evil, or whatever you have attached to this money thing. And you will find a way to override your logic and reason and put yourself back in the comfort zone of giving back some money or taking dumb trades that inherently are wrong, but not attached to logic, but you get a feeling, or you and a hunch, or being impatient, whatever the thing is that so that's tough stuff because after everything I just went for 3 hours here, it's all going to be pretty difficult if you don't have this beginner's mind. So I forgot what I was going to say. Finally remember what the point I was making when I said I went to this trading symposium. They call it symposium, so I thought it was special. I thought it's not a conference. They call it a conference on the flyer, but then they called it a trading symposium. It was called TAC, Technical Analysis, and all the old classics were there. All these guys. Some of these guys might be dead. But there was a guy that had a book. Everybody had their own booth running. You walk in this room, and the guy got all these obscure books, but he had one called, I think it was called Beginner's Mind. It was like a Zen book, but he said, if you look at a tree, I actually bought the book, and I'm reading the book, and it says, if you can look at a tree and not think in your head the word tree, it's very difficult to do because it's hard to unlearn what you're calling that. And now you have this, it's like the people that have seen candlestick charts, you can't unring that bell, you can't unscramble that egg to some degree, but you kind of have to, because if you think what I'm saying is ridiculous, then just, well, you could, I'm trading this stuff live, I record some of the things, so you see it does work. Of course, it's all going to be, and this is the part I haven't mentioned the whole time, is that, and I kind of ask that as a taunting thing. I say, people, where's your stop? So that means a couple things. It means that if somebody says, well, my stop, I asked him, I got a video recently, where's your stop? And he said, oh, it's logically at the last known low. I thought, that's great. What if you get stopped out? What if the market pulls back or deeper than you think? And you would put a buy limit down there too. Like, account for some problem, build into the trade plan. And so I see the precision that people want to approach this with, because they think, and of course they're wearing that hat of, I'm a serious trader and I'm this, and I read all the books, and it's always going to come down to this thing. Are you comfortable making money just from having a thought? And now I want to say one more thing. It just brings to mind, I studied this Tai Chi for 1 year with this guy. Spent like $2,000. Once a week I see this guy. Charged me like $80. He'd beating the shit out of me. No, not always, but he did chase me down in the park, made me run backwards. So I met the guy that trained him, and he gave the last thing I went to, this guy from San Francisco, his name's Master Shu, and it's spelled XU, in case you're listening. Hello, Master Shu. Little guy from probably Chinatown. And so he says that there's 3 ways of being. You can be real to real, which is you're a janitor and you're working and you're putting out real labor and you're getting real money. They're paying you real money. And this is the world most people live in. And most of the, going back to the beginning of time, what we're used to is that, you got to put some elbow grease into that. Of course, now it's like mental grease in trading. But so this kind of like real to real, it's a low level job. Anybody can scrub a floor, and it's real work to get real money. And then the other way of being, there's 3 ways of being. So real to real, and then you have empty to empty. So this is kind of there's only 3 possibilities off these 2 binary things. You have empty to empty, which means you have no job and you have no money. And then there's empty to real. And this is what people like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and anybody that's got an idea. It doesn't have to be those people. It could be Henry Ford, whatever. And they have an idea and they delegate that out to other people. And the real work's done by Your in this case it would be by your MetaTrader platform. That's going to carry out those instruction sets for you. But it's your thought, it's your idea, it's your concept, it's your principle, it's your execution technique, your tactics that are in your, that's empty, that's in your head. There's no effort there. So empty to real is the goal, especially when you get older and you can no longer scrub a floor. You don't have the physical energies, or you don't, and plus the fact that a lot of these jobs, they don't want some guy that's old and he might fall down. It's going to be a lawsuit. So when you begin your life, real to real is where everybody starts. You have a real job, you make real money. And then people say, I want to trade because I want to be empty to real. I want to make a decision. I want to make money from that decision. So that is the, but now the old, you got to walk before you can crawl. Now, real to real, I can't say that's completely. Now, it is in terms of factor that if you program a script, you've taken more of the real out of your work, right? And you're going more towards empty. It's not a hard switch. There's a blend, right? We're all living in a world where we still have to do real things. But without everything is a blend. And some people are empty, they 80% empty. I mean, there's degrees of emptiness. But you kind of eventually, of course, and the empty to real, because that leisure, right? And the guy that's a bum, empty guy, he's got the leisure. That's why these people don't want to go to these homeless shelters. They want to go back on the street to the empty because, and maybe they just feel comfortable like that. But they know how that works, and so it's difficult to make the transition. And a lot of people look to trading to be like the. I know I did when I first saw the computer. This is 1988 or 85. I saw on the cover of PC Magazine it said, "Make money with a computer in the market." And I thought, now we're talking. And I spent $2,000, maybe $3,000 on 5 1/4 inch floppies that had the code to build trading models, and I did that on the 286 that I mentioned in that other video. The guy commented that's Compaq Portable 2 before the 3, and I was churning out on track paper trying to build a winning robot, or winning, and it wasn't even a robot. So here we are with these MetaTrader platforms, and it's just a magical world. And I don't know if people that are in their 30s or 20s realize that you're standing in front of something that's so running these scripts that, and the hotkey keyboards and stuff like that. The hotkey keyboard is instant. I mean, just having that script ready to roll. Now you put the work into that, and now you're running that. So that work's done. And now you have another tool. Well, you don't have to scrub the floor. You don't have to go out and rob a bank, and you don't have to work by the hour and all that stuff. And people want that freedom because they want to go to trading. Goes, hey, I do what I want. Now this is presupposing you have the balls to place orders depending on the market and walk away. Because this whole idea that these people are claiming, oh look at, I just, I'm from, but if you're psychologically concerned about your position, then you are slave to the market. You're going to stare at that trade, hoping it turns out, and you're rooting for it and all this stuff. You're not one of these guys in the Lamborghinis on these Forex things like, oh look at, I can be my own boss. No, you're a slave to your fear of let's make sure this trade works out. Let's now, not to say that you don't want to check in occasionally and take something off the table or move a stop or take profit. Now that's money management. And so we're watching these robots, and the reason these robots were making money is because they had a money management scheme running behind it. It wasn't raw trading. What I'm speaking of here in this video is, if you're still watching, raw trading. Definitely and getting out of something, taking something off the table is money management. And but keeping your head on straight, not getting emotional about winning and losing, because if you're happy when you're winning, you're going to blow your brains out when you're losing. So yeah, it's definitely fascinating. It certainly will make it. You're certainly going to find out all your psychological flaws when you trade, because the market is this inkblot test. It's the market's there, and then there's you. So you're always going to have this thing where you're projecting your beliefs on the market, and once you realize that the market's not out to get you, and it's not a dangerous place to be, it's much opportunity. And so this thing where you're trying to trying to clean it up with a moving average, or you're trying to make it understandable, that you're going away from, you're stepping away from that opportunity, because the opportunity exists in what is the reality, not on these anyways, you know what I'm saying. So that's all I got. And a lot of this stuff has to do with I guess the fear is what's keeping a lot of people from trading. And just trading a demo can be a daunting task, because people have been told, this is another one, I don't know if this, I almost want to say, I'd have to debunk this. People say, trade the demo as if it's real money. Well, maybe trade one demo like it's real money, but trade another demo like a psycho. And just start trading. Don't be so worried about, oh gosh, is this the right, oh gee, well, I'm only supposed to put $500 here and trade it like, oh, okay. You could do that, but everybody, if you simulated trading, anybody have a game? First thing I do, I don't trade. I don't do any of those games. But first thing I want to do is see if I can drive the car off the cliff. So I want to blow up an account. I want to see what that takes, and my math skills are terrible. So I want to see what it takes to do that, and what's the percent of margin. I can't even read a number that big. But yeah, that's how I'm looking at it, and being flexible, and being, of course, all those other mental skills. It's gonna be tough to break free from the herd of conventional wisdom, and it's really difficult to, trading with morals and ethics is not. It doesn't have to be a moral trader. Now, I don't think you can get away from it, because, like I said, selling is immoral to me. It's a very difficult obstacle to overcome. And I can be making money in a short side, and I'm uncomfortable. If I'm making money when it's going up, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want, because I'm a bull. What am I going to do? I'm a bull in a china shop. So that's my my only recommendations. But yeah, thanks for the question, because it's just, I love when people ask questions, because I'm thinking to myself, yeah. And the other guy asked a question about, well, your trading's like, you don't have a system, it's philosophical. But that's what I'm saying, the empty to real stuff, all that, you can't get away from philosophy. But that's my next video, which I didn't have time to throw all that stuff in here, but I wanted to get to the root cause of all of the reasons why people are getting their ass kicked in these markets. So they make all these kind of assumptions, wrong ones, about that skill set. that people use to succeed in their day job is really not transferable unless you use it for different things. If you're an organized person, you're going to organize your tickets, but you could use that skill set in a different capacity in trading. But some of this stuff is not transferable, and certainly selling in an uptrend. Don't ever want to do that, right? We've been told that one, but there's people that make a mint. I mean, I'm a contrarian. I'm an angry contrarian bull, so I know the trade I can pretty much pull off on a scalp or a swing. And trend trading I don't really like so much because I figure that the party's over. Let's go to the next party. Not going to get married to this trade, and I don't like to lock up all that margin and just trade bigger on the. So if it's money's your problem, then just and of course as soon as you trade bigger size, that is a whole nother metric psychologically. So everything in this video I've spoken about is just about the same size in every ticket, but different stops and different targets. Because if you keep the size the same in every ticket, you're not going to overload, but you're going to pace yourself to the market. The market is your master. You have to accommodate the market with 3 different types of orders, and so I hope that helps. I'm trying to outdo this Inner Circle Trader. I think he had a 3-hour video. So, yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, right. It's like an orifice. Everybody has one. So yeah, so that's it. So I'm trying to remember to put the links to some of this. I'm gonna put the Wolfram in there. That's a great toy to play with, and the other thing was I'll just put the Wolfram rank in there. You can type in words like random walk, and you'll see there's probably 11. I think it's 1,000 or is either 1,100. I mean, either 11,000 or 1,000 of these simulations in there. But it really gets your. It's a nice exercise to train your brain, thinking probabilities. Mark Douglas, thinking probabilities, and thinking ranges instead of precise entry points. Nothing wrong with precision, but we can't take that too far because we're going to miss out on entries. And I think the first rule of trading is not to say that scaling is it for advanced traders. Scaling is the beginning kernel. People got this backwards, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, well but that's not for advanced people. It's for beginners. How are you going to scale into how are you going to build your account if you don't scale it up?" So coming in there with a gun that has 2 bullets in it, but they're really big bullets, is ridiculous. You're just never going to be able to survive a news event, or you're not going to be able to survive. You're just not going to have enough trades going. There's a balance point between trading and overtrading. So everybody finds that sweet spot, and then once you get too comfortable there, you're going to have to do some stretch. So I'm trying to sell more, and but it's a little distracting too, because if you do sell and buy at the same time, keep in mind that your platform's going to have all these tickets you have to manage. You have to open that platform. If you arrange by price, now you're stuck with the problem of, look at all these sells up here. Get rid of those. Not all these. Another thing is, not all these orders are going to fill, and that's where the work comes in. Managing all these tickets. It's ticket management. So you're managing inventory, and it's that odd that it's kind of not so much about the chart. It's about order management of prices. It's nice to have this visual cue. Hey, it's going up, but if I put a sell bank up here to scalp the top of this, because hey, I'm not going to buy here. We're at the breakout zone and get trapped, so I'm going to put sell limits up there, and arrange those and manage those, So it's like anything else. It's all, the devil's in the management, the devil's in the details. So thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, it's definitely grueling, but I guess you can listen to this while you're driving a car. But it's definitely too much fun trading and doing the videos. So as that guy says, yeah, that's about it.